My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only, and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes, and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. It is 1:41 a.m. The Ontario police that are stalking, and know exactly where it is that I'm sleeping, the Ontario police that engaged in kidnapping from Tracy Banks' house, engaging in where I'm being gang stalked by the Ontario police, who engage in an unlawful eviction, who are monitoring right now as I move, wake up from sleep, and get my jacket. This demon that is Ontario Police that's monitoring is engaging in what is told. You need to move. You need to go somewhere else while they're exercising authority under the law, while they're gang stalking at the same time. So this is a police department engaging in surveillance and talking about, oh, you need to move. Like they don't know that I'm already here stalking. All right, they're stalking me. So this is currently, it's 1:42 a.m. This officer is gang stalking right over here. This is the Ontario Police that are monitoring. He stops over here, gets out of his vehicle. He's monitoring me. I wake up to pull my jacket out. So that's a new movement that I'm engaging in. And he's coming over here with his flashlight and he's patrolling. He's walking around the building right now and he's monitoring me. So he, first of all, is telling me under the law, where they're violating the law, he's a gang stalker. This is not a law enforcement agency. This isn't a cop that's not stalking, that doesn't already know that I'm sleeping here. The entity's stalking by helicopter, stalking by the Ontario Police on a daily basis, and they are engaging in the P.O.C. So he's crossing path. I just want to speak to what's going on with regard to monitoring by the Ontario Police with the people of the state. And he's engaging in what is, oh, you need to sleep somewhere else. While that's, again, the entity that is stalking me and threatening to, under the law, where they're violating the law, while they're engaged in what is stalking me, talking about, well, you need to sleep somewhere else because otherwise you're going to kidnap me, apparently, for violating the law, for sleeping at the museum. And they are the ones that engage in an unlawful eviction with Tracy Banks by kidnapping me, knowing that I'm going to be sleeping outside, where they would be engaged in stalking me day and night in order to engage in what is kidnapping. Understand how the entity is engaged in that. And this overweight white male is engaged in monitoring right now. And I want to get him and ask him again. That's why I want to document this right now, because this is the whole point of what they engaged in on May 29th. When you're engaged in what is kidnapping a homeless person, that's my state right now. The entity monitoring me when I'm on the job in Los Angeles, LAPD, resigning from my employment, can't go to work without being gang stalked, and then the entity is engaging in that. Hi, this is P.O.C. vehicle 1107. Hi, what were you saying? I was sleeping. Double shadows. I can't sleep here? No? Okay. Why?
Because you can't sleep where you want.
No, I mean, I know that. Is there like a reason? Is there a law or something? Am I
sleeping in public?
On the bench?
City of Ontario? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Can I get your name, please?
You don't need my name.
Aren't you a public official?
I am.
You're not violating the law, are you?
I'm not.
Okay, so do you have a problem telling me your name?
I don't need to tell you my name.
Okay, what's your badge number?
I don't need to tell you that either.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I don't need to. So.
Well, you're telling me the law, right?
The municipal code, you cannot camp in the city of Ontario.
Right, you know what camping is defined as?
Having items sleeping in public.
Well, so you do know what camping is defined as, then? Okay. I wasn't asking for all that. I was just asking for your public information, because you don't want to provide that, though, right?
I don't need to.
Okay. How did you know I was over here on the bench?
I got a call here, and I saw you sleep on the bench.
You saw me sleeping on the bench from over here, from driving on this street?
I was walking with my 2 feet.
Uh-huh.
And I walked right past you.
You were walking with your 2 feet. You got a call from the museum, right?
Yes.
Okay, but don't forget about the shadows he's got. This is monitoring. He doesn't want to give his public information. It's light activity. He's monitoring. 1680783. This department stalking day and night at the Ontario Museum. Helicopters following me around. Engaged in what is kidnapping in order to get in this state where then they would exercise authority under the law that they don't have, the municipal code, in order to engage in kidnapping. And he's monitoring. Okay, this is federal prison, by the way, and he doesn't want to give his information. He's a public servant, again, one that's engaged in what is criminal surveillance. But I wanted to get that. This is monitoring. You see my shadow here? You see my shadow here? That's not caused from the lights outside. It's not caused from the headlights. And this demon saying from here, he saw me sleeping. I'm laid down on the bench. You cannot see me over here. They're stalking day and night by helicopter, however, flying in circles over me by helicopter, the Ontario Police. And this is exactly what they engage in kidnapping. They engaged in kidnapping on June 18, 2021, when they know that I'm sleeping outside, gang stalking me by helicopter. This demon, this coward that doesn't want to give his information. That's P.O.C. The Ontario Police is being disbanded. 1680783. That's federal prison. I just want to be clear. Gang stalking police officers go to federal prison. So the entity is engaging in what is kidnapping, and then engaging in what is stalking, where they know exactly where I'm sleeping at night, and using this as the very means to engage in what is harassment and threatening. Jonathan Burnett does the same thing, gang stalking me at this museum with the flashlight when the demons know exactly where I'm sleeping. They're engaging in what is keeping me under surveillance at the museum, where they're engaged in what is criminal activity in the first place, and then upon criminal surveillance, referencing the law as a basis as to why I cannot be sleeping here after they engage in a kidnapping. All right, a kidnapping to unlawfully evict me from Tracy Banks's house, where they were gang stalking me. Understand that. It is my shadow is appearing over here. That officer was monitoring. That's how he knew I was over here. And I'm sleeping on the bench over here. I'm laid down on the bench. You cannot see me from the street. And he's stating, of course, they're always stating they got a call pursuant to criminal summoning. If he got a call at all, he didn't need one. They're engaged in surveillance. And I have shadow over here and a shadow on the floor. This demon was monitoring. This is exactly why the Ontario Police Department is getting disbanded. This is exactly what the purpose of criminal summoning is. This is exactly the problem with criminal surveillance by law enforcement and then exercising authority under the law when I'm not even violating the law. This is with regard to the entity creating a circumstance where else am I going to sleep? Okay? The entity engaged in unlawful eviction through the Ontario Police Department to create this circumstance, by the way. The entity engaged in what is kidnapping me and removing me from Tracy Banks' home, and the entity is engaged in what is monitoring me, knowing exactly where I'm sleeping at. Before this demon uses this as an example, uses this as an opportunity to engage in, well, either you leave or then what? What are you going to do? You're going to arrest me? That's a kidnapping when they're engaged in gang stalking. Understand the significance of criminal surveillance by law enforcement agencies. They don't have authority under the law. Engaging in that. So I just wanted to, and now my shadow's over here, pay attention because this is all monitoring that he was engaging in. And he's walking down here, and he does so after I dug in my bag. I dug in my bag because I was getting my jacket out. So that's stalking with the activity, what he was doing. He's monitoring, and the fake moon is over the museum. And I documented the sunrise and set here at this museum. They're monitoring in Ontario. The Ontario Police is engaged in criminal monitoring. He was creating light activity, walking around in engineered light, monitoring and stating, oh, that's right, he got a call. That's why I was asking him those questions. And he doesn't want to give his information because he's a gang stalker. He very well could have given his information. They're public servants. And they're supposed to when you request it. But I want to be clear, whether he gives it or not, he was monitoring right now. And the Ontario Police Department engaged in kidnapping on May 29th to create this very circumstance right here, which is not a basis to arrest. They're engaged in kidnapping. This is exactly why El Martinez, C. Torres, who went to the Ontario Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, he's going to federal prison. They're gang stalking at the intersection at 6:18 p.m. on video under the fake sun. He's gang stalking right now in the same exact engineered light. That's federal prison. They're stalking. You're stalking, and then you're engaging in what is the exercise of fictitious authority under the law while you're stalking. This is P.O.C. It's currently 1:50 a.m. Alrighty, as you can see from the still images, where I am on the grounds of the museum, taking a picture of the no loitering sign that's on the ground. And while I am now crossing path, the Ontario Police are gang stalking, driving what is south on Transit, crossing path. And AMR is engaged in criminal summoning on Euclid Avenue, sounding sirens with regard to stalking in the path with light and audible activity, monitoring with the people of the state. A demon at the intersection, their headlights are so powerful that they're piercing me, touching me with that light while I'm at transit. That's impossible light activity. The Ontario Police that are on video engaging with is the exercise of fictitious authority under the law. He's subject to federal prison for that. Gang stalking police officers go to federal prison. That's a threat to my life. He's bearing weapons. The entity controls the narrative, will take your life, kill you, and then state, oh, you threatened me, or they threatened me, or they were engaged in what is causing me to be in reasonable fear, so I had to grab for my weapon. This is the inherent threat to gang stalking police officers that are engaged in the pattern of conduct. He's engaged in what is quoting law where he's engaged in criminal surveillance in order to acquire information about being in violation of it. That's not law enforcement. He's stalking. He's monitoring in the middle of the night. He's surrounded in engineered light. He has 3 shadows around him. And while I am being molested with impossible light, this gang stalking police department that's engaged in a pattern of kidnapping is stalking now after telling me that I have to leave the museum, and they're stalking me as I go to wherever else that I go, in concert with AMR. That's what you'll see crossing paths with light activity and engineer light. It's 2:04 a.m. This is P.O.C. License 7NMH. I can't really see that one. I want to say 218. You can scratch that because I can't see the whole license plate. But nonetheless, this is the entity that's engaged in gang stalking, and I have 1, 2, 3 shadows right now. Just like when you'll see on video, the Ontario Police gang stalking, quoting law. This is what is so preposterous about demons being in law enforcement, about stalkers being using stalking and criminal surveillance as a means to be mistaken for legitimate law enforcement. That's not law enforcement. It's criminal surveillance. So they cannot engage in exercising authority under the law, enforcing the law without breaking the law. Then they are not qualified for law enforcement. And not only that, they literally engaged in kidnapping me to create this predicament whereby they would have a quote-unquote basis to kidnap me. This is why Tracy Banks engaged in it. She's a gang stalker, doesn't want me publishing the pattern of conduct. This is why Woodside Senior Apartments is interested in engaging in that, because they are gang stalkers, don't want me publishing the pattern of conduct. This is why the Ontario Police Department in particular, relying on criminal summoning, because they are gang stalking and do not want me to publish the pattern of conduct. They engaged in kidnapping to remove me from Woodside, where I'm sleeping inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, and I'm being gang stalked. To have me in this predicament where I'm even kept in a facility where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning and kidnapping to accomplish that, and engaged in what is stalking me on an ongoing basis ceaselessly while I'm remaining outside of Tracy Banks' apartment. Understand that. All right, it is currently 2:05 a.m. I want to make sure that that's understood. El Martinez is going to federal prison because this is the purpose for them engaging in kidnapping. El Martinez is going to federal prison. She's going to prison. C. Torres, that you see gang stalking at the Starbucks where the entity kept the fake sun from 7:25 a.m. until after 7 p.m. I got it on video at 6:18 p.m. in the same position over the same part of the building, over the same street, the same sidewalk, the same venue that I'm inside of. When the Ontario police are gang stalking me by both in vehicles, pacing all around me at that Starbucks while the fake sun remains over it, and by helicopter like I documented at 6:18 p.m. This is why Nathan Morgan is going to federal prison, engaging in what is kidnapping to create this very circumstance where then a gang stalking police officer, police department that's obsessively monitoring when my panties are down in bathrooms are engaging in what is exercising fictitious authority under the law, like psychopaths who don't already know that I'm there. They know exactly where I'm there. They're stalking me on a daily basis, daily and every night in helicopter, which is what I document in order that the world would understand why they're going to federal prison. The multiple reasons why, and the motivation is because the demon-possessed don't want me to expose them, and they're openly demonic and criminal conduct that the Ontario Police Department is the supposed to be the arbiter of what is threatening your life and safety. P.O.C. It's currently 2:07 a.m. American Medical Response is engaged in criminal summoning as I move from the museum and gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department while they follow me to the next venue. Wherever it is that I go, they're stalking. Just like I stated is the case when I leave Tracy Banks' apartment. Tracy Banks is still stalking. She's a gang stalker. The entity is stalking. She is stalking while she's engaging in what is wanting me to get out so she can stalk me incessantly, which is what she's been doing while I'm now outside of her apartment. Those are psychopaths. Those are psychopaths. They are obsessively stalking me, and that includes the police department, who is covered in engineered light. So that's the context with regard to the absence of any authority under the law. He's a gang stalking demon. And he covered up his badge number, which appears to be 21167. You can clearly see his image and his license plate and vehicle number. He is subject to federal prison. And this is why his partners, El Martinez, again, C. Torres, and Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook are going to federal prison. Impossible Light, while you hear these vehicles in the background, Impossible Light at 150 East Hope Boulevard, which I've already documented. Ontario police engaging in what is, again, understanding the big picture. That's the whole purpose for engaging in what is kidnapping me, to remove me from that apartment where the entity can stalk me day and night, maintain surveillance outside of Tracy Banks' apartment, meaning in a facility where they're obsessively gang stalking, because I'm under surveillance inside of Tracy Banks' apartment as well. The entity engaged in what is removing me from that in order to keep me either in a facility where they were not able to do that because there is no mental illness, and they're doing it while I'm sleeping
sleeping now outside and they're obsessively stalking. And so then a psychopath, a stalker says, oh, you can't sleep here because there's camping, and not addressing the fact that you can't stalk me in order to then gain information about what it is that I'm doing, whether it's in violation of the law. It's not a violation of the law when you're gang stalking me in order to create that circumstance. It's not. So I want to point that out. It's 2:09 a.m. The people of the state are gang stalking a woman. The Ontario Police Department engaging in violence against a woman, stalking, and creating that circumstance so that they can kidnap me. That's literally what the whole purpose of that scenario is. P.O.C. That demon was monitoring stalking with activity. The moment that I dug in my bag, this is when this demon arrives with a flashlight. Jonathan Burnett did the same thing. I'll remind you about that video. P.O.C. All right, and just as is the pattern of conduct, the stalker, that is the Ontario Police Department, stalking me from place to place. And this stalking system is what they use to engage in what is exercising fictitious authority under the law that they have no authority under. No law enforcement agency is empowered under the Constitution to stalk American citizens and then exercise authority under laws that they allegedly violate, which you learn about, know about, because you're stalking them. And that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department has been engaged in, which is why they're being disbanded, apart from what is kidnapping me. The moment that I arrive at what is the Tabor Professional Building, where I've already documented the Ontario Police Department stalking me in helicopter, stalking me by pacing with the people of the state who are stalking with light. That's why inside of Starbucks, when they are pacing on Euclid Avenue under an enduring fake sun that remains for 12 hours at 507 North Euclid Avenue, impossible light is shooting all throughout that venue. The people of the state are pacing, and so is the Ontario Police Department, who are driving an impossible light that's present at 2:27, 2:28 in the morning. And the moment that I arrive at the Tabor Professional Building, the Ontario Police Department is following, stalking, just like they were stalking before approaching me at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, which I already have documented. This is speaking to a threat of kidnapping, not merely a stalker, a psychopath that's feigning not stalking you and then telling you with a straight face, oh, you're not under the law, you're not supposed to be. This is a stalker that's following you around. That's not law enforcement. In addition to that, this is literally a demon-possessed agency that's following me around from place to place. And that's exactly what I capture in images in the engineered light, where I have 3 shadows on the ground and an upright shadow to my right, where at the moment that I arrive at the Tabor Professional Building, the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department have a demon crossing path, stalking, gang stalking me while I'm here, knowing where I'm going, already knowing I'm at the museum, stalking me there, and exercising fictitious authority. That's a threat by gang stalking police officers who go to federal prison for that. Whether or not you engage in kidnapping, you're going to federal prison for gang stalking. This is why American citizens are killed, while the entity that is not exposed for gang stalking engages in what is law enforcement that they have no business engaging in, and American citizens end up dead for it, pursuant to criminal summoning as well. The entity is engaging in stalking me, and you'll see it in images. The Ontario Police is crossing path in engineer light the moment that I arrive at the Tabor Professional Building, the moment that I walk up. And so this is why I already have my phone in position in my pocket, in my hand, because I already hear a demon approaching, and it's the demons of the Ontario Police Department who are gang stalking, crossing path, already knowing who I am and where I'm at. And that knowledge is known to you by virtue of the fake moon that's no longer over the museum. It's over me here at the Tabor Professional Building, just like it was on the night when the Ontario Police Department engaged in what is showing everyone outwardly their mental illness by stalking as a police department, number one, and by pacing, repeatedly flying in circles in front of me in engineered light in a helicopter while that fake moon was right over me. This is where the fake moon is. This is where I have multiple shadows around me. This is where the Ontario Police cross path with simultaneity of my arrival. And this is where the entity is engaging in what is exercising fictitious authority under the law, which is all that they've been doing while they've been repeatedly kidnapping me, making up information, and gang stalking with the people of the state. The entity is engaging in what is amplified audible activity. That's exactly what the Ontario Police Department is doing, gang stalking when crossing path at 2:28 a.m. You'll see that uploaded to the Google Drive. That officer that didn't want to give his information about his badge number while he's gang stalking with the city of Ontario, while he's engaging in what is exercising fictitious authority as a gang stalking police officer, he engaged in kidnapping. The Ontario Police Department, the entity, committed kidnapping. Now, who's going to federal prison for it is C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, and Nathan Morgan. But the Ontario Police Department committed kidnapping, and they're engaged in stalking me. So they're exercising fictitious authority for which you go to federal prison for. I have a whole playlist of demons victims of the Ontario Police gang stalking, and every single last one of them subject to federal prison for it. Every single last one of them threatening kidnapping for it. Every single last one of them threatening literally my life while they bear weapons, stalking me obsessively with regard to an illegitimate interest of the government. All right, it is currently 2:33 a.m. Amplified plane activity speaking to the gang stalking of the Ontario Police right now. I'm surrounded with engineer light and the gang stalking conduct of the people of the state. I'm surrounded with engineer light under the fake moon at G Street and Fern Avenue. This is P.O.C. 2:33 a.m. pursuant to the P.O.C. A demon, the people of the state that stalk with impossible light activity, crosses path the moment that I stop recording, crosses path monitoring with the city of Ontario that does not have any terminals over here where you're not going to hear planes roaring. You're not going to hear plane engines roaring. They're not taking off from Terminal 2 to be hovering over here to be heard, to be seen in the sky space. The city of Ontario doesn't have any other ideas with regard to how to surround with audible activity that's not subject to what is a common sense level of scrutiny, and also which is not going to pass muster when they're prosecuted, and clearly understanding how the city is also violating on a common sense basis, also with regard to protocol and a proper procedure with regard to the operation of a police department, with regard to the operation of an airport, with regard to the operation of the use of helicopters where they're gang stalking with the people of the state. But nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is amplifying plane activity, and a demon crosses path the moment that I stop recording. That's what you'll see in images. The people of the state, the same demons that stalk with light and stalk me in the bathroom. All right, pacing on what is G Street, crossing path again. This is again the late hour, 2:34 a.m. The demons engaging in what is gang stalking directly and vicariously in the same exact environment. P.O.C. It's 2:46 a.m. That's amplified audible activity and engineer light pursuant to criminal monitoring. And it's monitoring also on my device while I am creating my podcast. In the midst of creating my podcast on my phone, this is supposed to be the sound of planes rumbling. This must be the explanation that the entity intends to create. It's the natural expected sound of planes rumbling because there's an airport in the city of Ontario that you're going to hear rumbling of just some anonymous noise making, a rumbling in the environment at 2 in the morning where I am at the Tabor Professional Center. The entity is engaging in what is audible activity creation with simultaneity to the use of my device, monitoring it. And the people of the state are psychopaths, demons that fling light, and they're pacing around on the streets surrounding me, monitoring, gang stalking inside of their venues where they live, and inside of the venue, for example, 7-Eleven, where the people of the state loiter by making purchases. This is what they're doing at Starbucks all day long. They're loitering in the path. The government doesn't have warrant or probable cause, no right to stalk me, to do it directly or vicariously. And you're stalking when your place of business or your home is a facilitating venue where surveillance is underway. This is speaking to public corruption. The ongoing mysterious rumbling noises is that which is typically coexisting with planes flying in the sky. It's just that it makes no sense, and it's outside of procedure of how, and the zoning laws regarding the operation of the airport. But again, this is totally outside of what the entity is abiding by, because they're gang stalking, and so are the people of the state. But the entity is maintaining any method of noise because the entity hasn't contemplated how else to do it, and how else are you supposed to, in what they find to be a less obvious manner, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the entity has what it sounds like as though planes are rumbling. It's just that when there's not going to be any of that at all coming from the airport. So the entity is merely maintaining noise, and that needs to be understood. Clear, straight up noise monitoring me while I'm over here, after stalking me at the museum, exercising authority under the law that they don't have as a stalking police department, in order to stalk me to this place where they are monitoring me here, which is the pattern of conduct that I've been documenting for years. Okay, it's 2:48 a.m. This is federal stalking under Title 18. It's 3 a.m. The entity is maintaining amplified audible activity, just ongoing rumbling of a rolling, rumbling, ominous, loud noise it just with regard to monitoring. So that's the inexplicable loud noise. The entity is typically associating this with planes taking off. I've already scrutinized the fact that there is nothing other than stalking by planes at this location where the Ontario International Airport is off of what would be Vineyard and Airport Terminals 2 and Terminal 4, Airport Road, or the specific name of that street, where there is no vantage point where you're flying north. That will be northwest to get over toward Euclid Avenue, Hope Boulevard. You're crossing over Hope Boulevard to get to Euclid Avenue, to get all the way over to G Street. What the entity is doing, flying over Unicare, flying over the Starbucks that I'm inside of at 507 North Euclid Avenue, flying over the Starbucks at 706 West Holt. You're already taking off from the airport, to flying over Woodside Senior Apartments. It's a grand deviation. The entity is typically associating this amplified rumbling noise with planes taking off, and it's plainly illogical, and it's actually very stupid, and it's an obvious admission to targeting by planes in a manner that's abnormal with and inconsistent with planes taking off. In other words, for the airport to claim, no, we're not engaging in any hovering or targeting. We take off and engage in ordinary procedure with regard to our destinations. No, you're not. And there's no way that you are being at the elevation that you are. But that's a common sense reasoning. You're going to prosecute them based on the illusion. So because you use amplified plane activity, you're admittedly engaging what is hovering in the sky space, which is out of line with what is taking off from airports, and Alaska Airlines has no business hovering over the 280 North Lemon Apartments. How are you even at that elevation? How can I even see the logo when you're taking off from the Ontario International Airport, making international flights? Okay. For example, the entity is engaging in what is stalking using planes, using the same audible activity, but it doesn't even require the planes. This is demonic. Okay, and the same way that the sun isn't an object that sits over one building for 11 hours, and in order to document that supernatural phenomenon, which I am subject to as a pattern while the entity is stalking me, you document that. You document the entity that is monitoring as they're stalking you in that environment as well. The amplified audible activity is evidence against the Ontario Police Department, who are stalking. They're gang stalking. And it's a citywide effort, and the entity is maintaining activity creation around me while the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking and engaging what is the exercise of fictitious authority under the law, while the people of the state are aiding in that criminal endeavor with them, crossing path. 3:03 a.m. That's the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department. This is an entity gang stalking. The Ontario Police Department is being prosecuted by the gang stalking conduct of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and vice versa. The Starbucks is going to be prosecuted for the gang stalking conduct of the Ontario Police Department that Starbucks is knowingly and intentionally engaging in. They are acting as one entity, and one is speaking to the criminal conduct of the other. And the amplified audible activity and the demonic pacing in the engineered light is a criminal conduct with regard to the Ontario International, the Ontario International Airport, but the City of Ontario, which is the Ontario Police Department, who is stalking me right now at 3:04 a.m. while mysterious amplified audible activity in the specific environment, in other words, engineered light and the fake moon over my head at this intersection where the people of the state are pacing. All right. The Ontario Police Department that are gang stalking on video, he refuses to provide his information as a purported public servant. That's inappropriate, first of all. And second of all, this is vehicle, the license plate, while he is stalking. And this stalker is acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and he is engaging in what is the exercise of fictitious authority under the law, threatening my life in doing so. And the Ontario Police Department and every gang stalking officer are subject to federal prison for this, and I've been documenting it for years while they're stalking me as a police department, and engaging in the elements of monitoring while in that position to abuse the law and to abuse the purposes of law enforcement, which isn't giving you authority when you're stalking an American citizen. That's not practicing law enforcement. And as you engage in that abuse, you're going to federal prison for it. This is an unlawful threat to your life, because this is how American citizens end up dead. The demon-possessed psychopaths that are stalking in helicopter, bearing weapons, sitting around stalking you, and doing so in the specific environment, monitoring you, and very highly unstable, mentally deranged, highly malicious, and corrupt. And that corruption is a threat to your life as well, and controlling the narrative after you're gone as well, turning off their body cams, controlling the narrative, the people of the state bearing false witness, all manner of circumstances are at risk when you are being gang stalked by the police, and that's why they remain subject to federal prison. And so does this officer at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, on video in engineered light at the museum, very heavily documented gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department. And he is monitoring at this early hour of 1:41 a.m. He's engaging what is light activity, relevant positioning, and audible activity. He is monitoring in the specific environment, and the specific environment followed me here to the Tabor Professional building, where I've already documented the entity gang stalking. And the fake moon is no longer over the museum. It remains over me, moving as I move, just like the fake sun. And he is driving license plate. He refuses to provide his badge number. That's improper. And it's also improper upon gang stalking as a police department and a police officer. He's not a legitimate police officer. He's going to be treated like the terrorist that he is. He's engaged in domestic terrorism. I'm going to get his license plate because he's gang stalking. That's what I'm subject to right now. This is what he's doing at the museum and exercising authority under the law that he doesn't have in doing so. Vehicle license 1680783. And it is vehicle number vehicle number 1107. So that is, again, vehicle number 1107, and the license plate on that vehicle by that corrupt state actor engaged in gang stalking and exercising authority under the law in order to do so. This is the significance of law enforcement agencies engaged in federal group stalking, monitoring, gang stalking. They stalk you around, and then they approach you as though, oh, we have a reasonable suspicion, or we have probable cause to suspect that you are. They don't have any of that. They're stalking. They're demons who are stalking. They know when your heart is beating and when it stops. They know when you are in the conscious state and when you're in the unconscious state. They know when your panties are up or down. They're demons. License 1680783 is that license plate of that gang stalker wearing an Ontario Police Department uniform and is engaging in what is the unlawful act. It's a federal offense. It's an act of terrorism to engage in what is gang stalking as a police department and then exercise authority under the law, which is a threat to your liberty. Because then what is the result? So then what, you're going to arrest pursuant to what is stalking me in order to gain this information about allegedly breaking the law. And then you're already aware of what is the preceding circumstances that the Ontario Police Department gang stalking me created. This is, again, why they're going to federal prison and the people of the state go to federal prison for criminal summoning. And this is the ongoing cycle that the entity has been engaged in, all because of what it is that I am revealing about this corrupt system. It's not only about the city of Ontario. It is not only about even the state of California. It is demonic. It's regarding Satan's agenda. Satan is a spirit. He's using people, and he's using people that are trying and failing at stopping me. They're trying and failing at stopping me and not looking like exactly what it is that I've said that they are. They look exactly like the demons that I said that they are. They're behaving exactly like the demons that I said that they are. Those demons are stalking and monitoring in the way in which I said that they are, and they're not able to engage in that, and they're clearly engaging in it openly. When you're seeing the storm of light inside of Starbucks, the demons are openly engaging in their psychotic pattern of conduct, not capable of controlling themselves, not acting like they're innocent and ignorant about what's going on. They're fully there in that supernatural environment. They're engaging in it. They're executing it right in front of your face. And they're not able to maintain an appearance of being passive, ignorant, or disconnected from it while they're sitting there just oblivious to it, acting like it's not happening. That's entirely unpersuasive as well, and equally disturbing. While the demon-possessed engage in that. So they don't look like what they sought to look like, as though someone else is imagining things and that they're just going about minding their business. They don't look like that whatsoever, and neither do the Ontario Police Department, nor does any other gang stalking police department that I documented. I went far outside of Ontario, and the entity is engaged in a P.O.C. And this is why the entity is engaged in what is stalking me, because of what it is that I'm revealing about the demon-possessed, about Satan's this is a feckless army. That's why they're all stalking one person together. That's why they're stalking me at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's how fearful they are of me. Not because I'm breaking the law, but because I see what they're doing and I'm exposing it, period. So again, violating my rights and engaging in what are essentially financial devastations is not going to change my message. But this is also relevant to why the entity is going to federal prison. The ways in which they are violating the constitutional rights, the liberty rights of American citizens who are being oppressed and who are being kept in confined places, in facilities where they're gang stalking. Remember, gang stalking is about the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is underway in the jails, in the prisons, in the hospitals, like I'm documenting. The pattern of conduct is underway in the private residences, and they're not private residences because surveillance is underway. This is removing that entire illusion. Monitoring is underway inside of Tracy Banks's apartment. That's why the police can pull out their devices and play back, rewind, and play and put in slow motion. What did Erica say? What did Tracy say? That's why they can do that, because everything is public knowledge. Monitoring is underway. So anyway, I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's all relevant in supporting the policy regarding federal prison for gang stalking police officers. It's a threat to your liberty. Because they're exercising authority that they don't have. And while the Ontario International Airport, while the entity is surrounding with just mysterious rumbling noises in the air, and while the people of the state are pacing an engineer light, stalking at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's all you're doing, where there's multiple shadows, that's not caused from the street lamps, it's not caused from any headlights, it's not caused from any building lights. It's because they're monitoring. They're gang stalking. They're doing obsessively so at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you see their obsession while a fake sun sits over a building such as Starbucks for 10 hours in the day, obsessively stalking. While they're doing that, the Ontario Police Department is the one that's engaged in stalking. And it's exposing their criminal conduct for what is their disbanding and for what is federal prison. For C. Torres, that created this circumstance. For L. Martinez, that created this circumstance. For Nathan Morgan, that created this circumstance. For B. Hook, that created this circumstance. It is currently, again, where the Ontario Police is stalking, 3:12 a.m. on Wednesday, June 11, 2025. And their partner, license plate 1680783, is gang stalking at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts in the specific environment, replete with the fake moon and multiple shadows. You can see he has perpendicular shadows, 2 and 3 shadows moving around. That's impossible light activity while he is monitoring, exercising authority under the law that he does not have. And you're not a legitimate law enforcement agency when you're engaged in gang stalking, no matter what the demons call themselves. That's what Satan does all the time. He wants to refer to himself as one way. Satan is delusional. He is the spirit of mental illness. So that's operating over people. I don't care what you call yourself. You're not a police department. You're not engaged in law enforcement. You just call yourself that. You dress up like it, and you would like to be affirmed as that, esteemed as that, but you're not. You're stalkers and you're sex offenders. You're monitoring my vagina. That's not what law enforcement entails. All right. It is currently 3:13 a.m. This is P.O.C. TCJ056. This is a demon stalking in the path. You can see at nighttime, this is when the demons are put in their proper context. What they're doing all day, even under the fake sun during the brightness of the day, is stalking, ominous stalking in the path. And it's put in this proper context when you see this demon stalking in the alley in order to molest with light. This is relevant with regard to not just presence in the path. That's not based on, oh, well, their car is parked in the alley. No, they're stalking in the path. I have multiple shadows and monitoring. This is a demon that's stalking in the path. That's, again, at 4:52 a.m., where someone is stalking in a dark alley in order to cross paths with me while they're en route to go somewhere else, living their lives, not bearing a proper label as a gang stalker, as a sex offender, as a demon. It's 4:52 a.m. This is P.O.C. Um, 7YXD338. Get your turn. Crossing path in the parking lot, gang stalking. 8 Nancy Frank Bobby 394. All right, this is an elderly vato gang stalking me in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock in the morning. P.O.C. Sex offenders meeting in the parking lot so they can surround with light. And this is the criminal conduct that the Ontario Police Department facilitates, requires, relies on. Pacing as well, license plate, all meeting at the parking lot while I walk into it. So this is the time where everybody, oh, let's go park now, where she's walking in the parking lot. License 8NMD242 at 4:55 a.m. License They're all gang stalking when I'm at Starbucks all day long as well. 6YGK380. They're in relevant position, gang stalking with Starbucks, gang stalking with the Ontario police that are gang stalking me at the Starbucks. 8ZXM483. This is P.O.C. These are a bunch of demons swarming all together at one time. So as I walk through the parking lot, they all arrive at the same time with regard to parking, which is how they are pacing. Remember, they're all pacing and quote unquote arriving. These are the demons that are stalking with impossible light while they're driving by Starbucks. They're stalking at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. These are the psychopaths that are engaging in light slinging when they're stalking, and that's what they're doing now, driving all around me. That's pacing when they're stalking me en route to the location where the entity is stalking all day long, which is indicated to you by the fake sun. Okay, it's currently 4:56 a.m. where those sex offenders are. Again, those are the ones that are monitoring my vagina as well. Those are the ones that are stalking in the path when I pull my panties down and cannot wait and want to go inside that bathroom just to stand next to me while my panties are down. They want to be in a close environment while I'm indisposed like that. And they're pacing around with engineer light. The same thing that they're doing while I'm walking around in the parking lot. That's what they're doing when my panties are down, stalking. Always remember that. That's the true posture of the demon possessed. They're violent sex offenders. They're obsessed psychopaths. They're stalkers. P.O.C. All right, Starbucks employee license plate. These are the ones engaged in systematic monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, terrorism with impossible light, bathroom monitoring, criminal facilitation with the population. 5DNX602, 7THX757. These are two vehicles presumably belonging to the Starbucks employees that are at the cafe at this early hour. They're parked in their parking lot at least. It's two vehicles, and there's another one out here, 8MUK805. Starbucks employees are engaged in systematic, meaning I've been coming here repeatedly and they've been gang stalking repeatedly while engaging in federal stalking repeatedly and engaging with a criminal obstruction of justice, psychological torture, stalking with impossible light, stalking with amplified audible activity, stalking with with the intent to psychologically harm while they're being documented. Starbucks employees are routinely engaging in that. The policy is that where you're engaging in the pattern of conduct systematically, where you're not already subject to federal prison, you're subject to federal prison. License plate 8KUR807. So I just want to document that. This is P.O.C. It's currently 4:58 a.m. And this is definitely the same while Ontario PD. Oh, Chino PD, let me get this. What you doing in here? What you doing here, Chino PD? Here's Chino PD gang stalking in Ontario. 3011964, Chino Police Department. Coming across path, okay? Here's one shadow. Here's two shadows. Here's three shadows, just so that you know with regard to the light activity. And it's the same impossible light activity when the fake sun sits over Starbucks, where it began at 7:25 a.m. as I documented on June 10, 2025 yesterday. And it remains visible, as you will recall, after 7:26 p.m. through this drive-through window, which is absolutely impossible, and it's absurd that the sun will be at one address for 12 hours. But this is what you do when you document the P.O.C. The entity maintained the fake sun yesterday as a matter of my documentation until 6:18, where the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking, where I'm remaining at this venue in a supernatural environment. It's as supernatural as your shadow surrounding. All right, this is more than one shadow appearing on here. And Chino police are gang stalking. They're gang stalking me in Chino, California, and they're in Ontario gang stalking right now. The entity is acting as one. The Ontario Police Department represents the state that's gang stalking. That's why the LAPD and the Ontario Police Department have the same pattern of conduct. And I've documented Chino police engaging in criminal summoning, engaging in what is the crossing path under the fake sun that's in Chino, California. They're documented. They're in Ontario crossing path, gang stalking me. It's that specific. This is P.O.C. This is light activity. I'm in use of my communication device, and it is currently 5:30 a.m. This is the entity stalking with light, just like you saw the Ontario Fire Department doing at 7:25 a.m., where the fake sun was over me at this sidewalk, and where you saw the fake sun remaining at 6:18 p.m. over this same building. This is stalking with light in the path while I'm in operation of my communication device. And while I sat here, and again, a third party that is, again, stalking in the path and not having to refer to you at all, but what you're paying attention to is that they're always in the path, in close proximity, gang stalking.
And impossible light, just like you see during the day while the fake sun is shining and impossible light shoots through here, impossible light shooting through here along the sea. And while the entity is the Ontario Fire Department, the same gang stalkers. They're demons who are engaging in what is crossing a path. This is demonic pacing. And this is criminal summoning. All right, and Starbucks is engaging in criminal summoning. This is P.O.C. in a specific environment. Remember, multiple shadows outside where they're using the vehicle to engage in what is stalking me, and this is what is so absurd about gang stalking and the public corruption. These are the demons that are using vehicles, stalking with impossible light, and then they're engaging in what is interacting with them as the guise for light activity, presence in the path, and ongoing criminal monitoring. It's occurring while I'm uploading the podcast, and that's the focal point of these demons that are gang stalking together. This is Michael GERKEN's handiwork, and Michael LORENZ is responsible for the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department, and Alan D. WAPNER is responsible for the criminal conduct of the Ontario International Airport. This is criminal monitoring as an entity. Remember, the fake sun is here for 11 hours, so you're looking at what is public corruption, gang stalking in the most pathetic manner using the fire departments. These are demons pacing. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:32 a.m. All right, with regard to publishing my podcast, this is what the demons are in here monitoring right now. So I'll show you the specific environment where they're creating light activity like they do under the fake sun. They did this at Woodside Senior Apartments as well. They're doing this. This is the same city of Ontario, gang stalking with the Ontario Police. These are the demons that are stalking within the people of the state. They're doing so in the specific environment, so I just want to remind you, this is where the entity has the fake sun remaining. This is 507. Ontario Police gang stalking by helicopter at 6:18 p.m. where the fake sun is remaining. The Ontario Police gang stalking with C. Torres at 2:47 p.m. where the fake sun was still remaining over the same venue. Stalking by the Ontario Fire Department at 7:25 a.m. where the fake sun was still over here. This is the facilitating venue where the people of the state come into the venue, that work at the venue, to engage in monitoring. You're engaging what is an iteration of the P.O.C. with regard to criminal summoning. A demon comes in. Starbucks engages in summoning the entity. The entity is stalking in the path with light activity using state vehicles as criminal summoning. And they're doing so in this specific environment. This is P.O.C. And this is Ontario Fire Department and American Medical Response engaged in criminal summoning at the Woodside Senior Apartments as well under the fake sun. License 1332569. This is very pathetic. This is demonic pacing. These are demons. These are demons. And this is all engineer light. Gang stalking by a fire department, it's absolutely pathetic, and this is why they're going to be removed from the positions that they're in. They're monitoring my vagina. That's how pathetic they are. They're stalking using fire trucks, stalking using sirens, following me around in the middle of the night. That's how pathetic American Medical Response and the Ontario Fire Department are. This is an iteration while we waste resources on criminal conduct to gang stalk. License 70431V2. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the entity where the entity's keeping the fake sun setting seen through the drive-through window after 7 p.m. Remember the context? While they're engaging in the elements of monitoring, this is demonic activity. And this is City of Ontario. They're under the fake sun at 7:25 a.m. and under the same fake sun after 4 p.m. in the evening, like I'm documenting in the specific environment. And the demon-possessed find it entertaining when they're being exposed. But you're going to be diagnosed and prosecuted and removed from being firefighters. This is domestic terrorism, not firefighting. This is criminal surveillance, not firefighting. And the demon-possessed are disqualified from being in this position. That's where they're going to be removed from. P.O.C. is the specific environment. And that's what is providing context about what is picking up the demon-possessed third parties who are monitoring from the cafe in order to engage in gang stalking. This is the City of Ontario, P.O.C. It is currently 5:39 a.m. and I'm still going to publish the podcast that they're monitoring right now. It's the pathetic pattern of conduct. They're subject to federal prison. They're subject to federal prison. They're engaged in the P.O.C. A demon coming in and calling the entity engaging in that pattern of conduct together. It's monitoring. That's federal prison for these demons right here. P.O.C. It is currently 5:40 a.m. Alrighty, it is currently 9:18 a.m. This is just documenting gang stalking by the Ontario Police. This is the Corey Walton, who is gang stalking like the psychopaths that engage in what is passive-aggressive stalking in the path, in the engineer light under the fake sun, which he is not free to do in uniform as a gang stalking police officer, nor out of uniform, dressed like a gang stalking civilian. They are both outside of the bounds of the law where the government maintains no warrant or probable cause. And the demons, Elena is pacing, monitoring with them. They're pacing. Don't forget, this is the cafe where the engineer light is swarming around like tornadoes. This is the place where you see the Ontario Police gang stalking by helicopter.
This is the demon that's gang stalking under the fake sun, engaging in kidnapping on June 16, 2022, just like the demons of the Ontario Police Department committed on May 29, 2025, pursuant to malicious assertions that the people of the state that are gang stalking make and the police department that are gang stalking make with them while they're targeting together. They are under the fake sun, evident through what is the impossible light activity. That is not light, that is a result of the sun, that is evident of stalking under a fake sun. And this is Corey Walton, gang stalking. Bearing weapons, gang stalking is the basis of federal prison. Communicating a threat by gang stalking by a previous kidnapper is a communication of the entity is engaging in what is very passive aggressive conduct. It's almost comical if it wasn't a threat to your liberty and your life. The entity is gang stalking in the specific environment that is shared with the Los Angeles Police Department. You'll see here on June 26, 2024, which is the same time of year analysis. You will see right here the LAPD is gang stalking by helicopter under the fake sun. This is what you're looking at, and then I want you to look at the psychopaths that are engaging in what is federal group stalking, monitoring at 507 North Euclid Avenue at 9. The current time is 9:20 a.m. This video where I'm capturing the LAPD gang stalking. This video is 3 minutes long, so it ends at 9:16 a.m. And the entity kept the fake sun over me as I documented at this time of year on June 26, 2024. This is relevant for where the natural environment would dictate that the sun would be and sunlight would be. And that sunlight never dances on the walls like you've already seen inside of here, which is going to presuppose demons that don't speak to you when they're gang stalking you. And it's exhibited the shared mental illness by the people of the state. So let me show you their malice. This is a kidnapper, and the Ontario Police Department is a kidnapper. This is the fake sun. And they're also present. This is all based on fear of what I'm publishing on the internet about the Ontario Police Department. Starbucks' criminal engagement and federal group stalking monitoring is going to serve to disband these kidnappers, these gang stalkers stalking under a fake sun while their mental illness exhibited through that impossible light activity. And it is not relinquishing the people of the state from liability. I'm going to drain the pockets of Starbucks for this very presentation of an unlawful threat right here. This is P.O.C. Corey, would you like to say anything to the camera?
Hi, Erica. How are you?
Oh, you know me by first name, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't say anything when you walked in, though. Isn't that interesting under the fake sun? He's here gang stalking me and not addressing. He's here engaging in targeting under the fake sun and not addressing me. Bearing weapons and gang stalking, that's federal prison. The entity is LAPD is gang stalking in the same exact specific environment and doing so with helicopters, just like the Ontario Police Department is doing. Remember, this fake sun is still here until 6:18 p.m., where this same department is gang stalking by helicopter. Okay, there's not much to say when you're surrounded by evidence. These demons that are gang stalking with the city of Ontario is going to wind up in federal prison. It is currently 9:22 a.m., where the fake sun, as you know, is still over this same sidewalk like I documented at 3:47 p.m. in the afternoon on the same sidewalk where the Ontario Police Department and kidnappers are gang stalking with Starbucks, where it's remaining over this same sidewalk where I'm documenting at 2:47 p.m. where C-Tours that engage in kidnapping like Corey Walton are gang stalking at this same Starbucks in the specific environment when you're looking at impossible light dancing on the walls inside of here, and the people of the state are gang stalking just like the demons of the Ontario Police Department. Kidnappers coming in pursuant to what is the kidnapping that I'm publishing on the video of the internet. It is currently 9:22 p.m. And Corey Walton is gang stalking just like the LAPD is gang stalking at the same time. On June 26, 2024 at 9:16 a.m. The sun is not going to be over me at Alvarado Gardens at the same time that it is over 507 North Euclid Avenue. This is recognizing the environment where the police are targeting, and it's criminal targeting, and this is impunity and the outward demonstration of a psychopathic antisocial mental health disorder, and the entity is going to be prosecuted and diagnosed. This impunity is intolerable under federal law. This is domestic terrorism. This is the entity that's gang stalking by the Los Angeles Police Department. Helicopter activity, I'm being gang stalked in LA under the fake sun. At the same time, the people are here are gang stalking with the police in the cafe, and this is what the entity is doing in Los Angeles at the same time of year. LAPD and Ontario PD's pattern of conduct is the same. They're pacing at Alvarado Gardens under the fake sun, like they're doing inside of Starbucks under the fake sun. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. 9:16 a.m. I started this video at 9:18. This is a negligible difference. This is the same time, and the entity keeps the fake sun as I've documented right here over Starbucks. This is P.O.C. And while it's remaining over the Starbucks, remember it's not over the Ovid Family Community Library where Corey Walton engaged in kidnapping at 215 E.C. Street at 10:26 a.m. And neither does the sun ever create that light activity. It's not a reflection. It's pursuant to what is an admission. The people of the state are going to federal prison with them. It's not helping. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:38 a.m. And pursuant to what you've heard in the video, the entity that is monitoring the evidence about its criminal activity, pursuant to the very allegations that
the government, the city of Ontario, the state of California is engaged in criminal monitoring, is stalking in order to keep me under surveillance, and is doing so absent any legal authority. Corey Watson is a documented kidnapper, a gang stalker, engaging in the same pattern of conduct pursuant to the malicious assertions of the people who are gang stalking, and then engaging what is in reliance on that, committing what is criminal summoning in order to kidnap. It's not a coincidence that he is, first of all, in the specific environment at Starbucks. Second of all, arriving pursuant to what is the publication of another kidnapping, and I'm heavily referring to him as well. He's arriving at the Starbucks, as I am narrating in that video that you listened to, under the fake sun. That is at the same time over me in Los Angeles, where the LAPD is gang stalking me as well, using helicopters. Corey Watson being in uniform, out of uniform, is unlawful conduct. The people of the state don't have any legal right, nor do the people of the state have any right to do so on behalf of the gang stalking police, which is what Corey Watson represents, in uniform and out of uniform, by the way, and it's a communication of an unlawful threat. Following, pursuant to that, I do leave from the Starbucks, where I documented yesterday, for example, from 7 to 6:18 p.m., the entity keeping the fake sun over the Starbucks. And as I walk away this morning during the 10 a.m. hour, capturing the fake sun that's remaining over the same sidewalk, over the same building, outside of the same window. And as I walk away, that's where the fake sun moves as I move, pursuant to what is seeing the Ontario police, who are stalking, and all the people of the state, including those who are employees at that venue, stalking. All right, and pursuant to that, that's exactly what the entity is doing, monitoring me inside of the Ovitt Family Community Library, where you will see the supernatural, because the sun is not over the Ovitt Family Community Library yesterday, where I remained at 507 North Euclid Avenue. And if it was, I wouldn't be able to capture it out of the window, standing on the sidewalk. I'd be facing Euclid Avenue, which would be facing south, in order to get the sun at a distance, where Ovitt Family Community Library is north of the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. The entity is maintaining the light source directly over the entrance of the library, like I documented. And so the entity is moving that fake sun with regard to identifying very clearly who all is being targeted and who all is targeting who. And it is the person who is documenting as well the fact that a supernatural object is remaining over me, and it is not cleverly disguised as the sun, not behaving like the natural environment at all. And the fake sun moves as I move to Ovitt Family Community Library, where the demons are monitoring me, the demons that operate government vehicles, including AMR, American Medical Response, gang stalkers and kidnappers, and also the Ontario Fire Department and the Ontario Police Department. The entity is gang stalking by sounding sirens while I'm in the library. I just want to give you details about the level of monitoring, and then you're going to think about, I don't want you to think about my genitalia, but you need to think about the fact that they are thinking about my genitalia. They're monitoring my genitalia with that same level of diligent and disgusting level of detail and concern. While I am walking in the library and I make observations, even adjust my facial expressions, the demons that are very much hovering over me and stalking in that specific environment, which proves it physically for the world to witness, is sounding sirens with simultaneity to that. And the fact that the fake sun is over the Ovitt Family Community Library is the added context. And so this is what's going on inside of the library. I'm being monitored. I'm being monitored by all of the patrons inside of the venue, and that's known because the specific environment follows me, which is demonic. And the entity is engaging what is harassment and terrorism, while the state is sounding sirens, sounding inside of the library with simultaneity to my reaction to books that I'm observing inside of the library. Where they're not in here reading, working, focusing on minding. They're all gang stalking me, and that's why the fake sun moves as I move to be over the Ovitt Family Community Library, where I've already documented the fake sun as early as 7 in the morning and as late as 7 in the evening, the entity gang stalking. And this is also the entity that committed a kidnapping as well, where Corey Watson, in fact, committed kidnapping under the 10:26 a.m. fake sun, which cannot possibly at the same time of year be over me, like I documented in Los Angeles, where LAPD, however, is engaging in the same pattern of conduct of stalking me as a police department, a demon-possessed one engaged in criminal surveillance and using what is helicopters as a hallmark and identifying an indicator, a symptom of gang stalking by police departments. And that is what the Ontario Police and the Los Angeles Police share. And I want to document this act of terrorism that I'm subject to inside of the library at 215 E.C. Street in Ontario, California. The entity sounding sirens with simultaneity to literally my reaction to various titles of books, whether I find it entertaining, whether I find it humorous, whether I find it grotesque, as I adjust my facial instincts, that level of detail, that is what is informing you about the sex offender that is very closely monitoring my vagina. And that's exactly what I want to be known about the sex offenders who are using fire trucks and ambulances and police vehicles and helicopters, including their business establishments, their private vehicles, and whatever else they have at their disposal to keep me under surveillance, gang stalking, including through the use of an establishment such as the Ovid Family Community Library. It is currently 10:44 a.m. The fake son travels as I do to this venue where the entity is engaged in gang stalking with impunity and demonstrating severe mental illness in doing so, a trigger finger with regard to the use of sirens in order to monitor me with audible activity as the state is acting directly, and the people of the state are gang stalking in the library, which is filled with impossible light as well. It is currently 10:44 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, license 9SYT910. This is a sex offender touching over my genitalia, my thighs, my body, while the Ontario police are in relevant position gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square. I've been at the Ovid Family Community Library where the fake son is over me upon arrival, like I documented, and not remaining over the Starbucks, which is the P.O.C, and it's also the P.O.C for that fake son to move in deviation of what is consistency, which the natural environment is also. It's just not consistently supernatural with regard to a fake son sitting over a building all day long. And the third party whose license plate I read is also gang stalking with the city of Ontario, who has planes flying over where sex offenders are molesting me with impossible light. There's no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 where commercial planes are going to be taking over, flying over the 280 North Limit Apartments like Alaska Airline was when I documented the fake son upon my exit of the Ovid Family Community Library days ago. License 1591420 is a sex offender. This is Ontario police that are gang stalking me with the people of the state, which is why they're going to federal prison. So they're pacing at the turn circle, meeting me at the door, stalking in the path, stalking with light. This is what they're doing inside of a Starbucks where a fake sun remains all day long, and they're crossing the path, stalking with light while impossible light activity, which is on video, swims inside of that Starbucks. This is what they're doing outside, pacing around with the Ontario police, who are going to be disbanded. C. Torres is going to federal prison. Corey Watson, who engaged in gang stalking in my face today in civilian clothing, aware of the documentation about publishing and kidnapping that he too has committed in the same manner with regard to false assertions in order to criminally defame, in order to kidnap with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. He's engaged in this iteration of the same P.O.C. He arrives gang stalking in the specific environment at Starbucks. License 1591659 is Ontario Police, who's gang stalking with the people of the state who are pacing around. And of course, the demons have the city of Ontario maintaining light activity in relevant position. That vehicle that's being misused for criminal purposes, for criminal monitoring, for a sex offense, because sex offenders want to touch all over me with light while they're monitoring. This is license 1634726. The people of the state are crossing path by skateboards. You can hear there's multiple shadows in front of me. The city of Ontario has magnified size shadows while they're pacing around and calling it an event at the Ontario Town Square. It's the same P.O.C. The entity amplifying plane activity. The event is happening in engineer light. The event is happening while the people of the state are gang stalking. All right, this is public corruption exposed, and C. Torres is going to federal prison. The entity maintaining the fake sun not at 2:47 p.m. remaining over Starbucks, and it's certainly not over Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, which I used to juxtapose his criminal engagement and gang stalking me, having the audacity to do so after kidnapping me, and also aware of the evidence. The entity is keeping the evidence of its criminal conduct under surveillance as well. The entity kept the fake sun, like I documented upon my arrival this morning, over the same venue, the Ovid Family Community Library, which I've been documenting for a term of years, okay? So the entity is engaging what is maintaining minors right now to gang stalk right now. They're crossing path, little underage terrorists that engage in monitoring vaginas of adult women like myself while they're gang stalking. This is the issue with regard to gang stalking parents, demon-possessed parents, criminals who are engaging in domestic terrorism with the corrupt government. This is why you will have corrupt and lawless households, by the way. When you have the demon-possessed acting with the police department, this is another reason, another basis for protecting the public, disbanding the Ontario Police Department, who are engaging in and incentivizing violence against women. Ontario Police is gang stalking, and Nathan Morgan's going to federal prison for it. And so is B. Hook, as well as L. Martinez. They are indeed going to federal prison, and they are still gang stalking while the people of the state are gang stalking, while the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking, while the entity at the Ovid Family Community Library, where I remain and where I go, I remain subject to that pattern of conduct, just like I documented
throughout the day today, and those officers that committed kidnapping are still gang stalking as an entity. They're going to federal prison. They committed kidnapping on May 29, 2025 with the people that stayed at Woodside Senior Apartments, where I've already documented the Ontario Police Department gang stalking at that apartment complex, and then those highly unintelligent imps committed kidnapping, and there's a preceding body of evidence to show that they were targeting, and that was a method of targeting by kidnapping and making those false assertions, which is also a documented pattern of conduct with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center that's engaging in what is the abuse of the law that they don't have authority under because they are gang stalkers as well. And Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is a facilitating venue, and that's exposing those mental health professionals. While I'm being gang stalked, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is gang stalking in the ways in which I've documented. It is at P.O.C. To engage in that while exercising a fictitious authority under the law in order to kidnap, that's federal prison, not just for Ontario police, but for those gang stalking medical so-called professionals that engage in what is malicious assertions about mental health issues that do not exist, especially when you're not even conversing with me. I don't talk to these demons when they're kidnapping me. I know the law, I know my rights, and I know what they do not have. And I also know that they're gang stalking, and so I'm documenting the same exact pattern of conduct in the facility while they're engaging in what is feigning as though they're actually practicing medicine. They bring shame to the practice of medicine, and they are doing exactly what they're supposed to take an oath to not do. They're doing all manner of harm, unprecedented harm, incalculable harm, while they are gang stalking in a hospital, engaging in psychological torture in a hospital in the ways in which I'm documenting right now. Stalking with light, stalking with amplified audible activity inside of a hospital. You're going to federal prison for that. The entity kidnaps under the Welfare and Institutions Code in order to criminally defame your character and keep you in a kidnapped state. And the entity is doing so with the Ontario Police, who are subject to federal prison, the demons of the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, who are subject to federal prison, as well as the people of the state who engage in criminal summoning in order to get an American citizen, as I've documented, in that sort of state where the ordinary targeted individual does not have anybody to advocate on their behalf, typically does not have the ability to articulate their rights and understand what is appropriate and inappropriate for the entity to be doing, and even to adequately and appropriately handle those circumstances in order to not act out in a manner where the entity will then exercise fictitious authority and try to defame you in that way, which is not mental illness and is not the practice of medicine. But this is what the entity does in abusing its position. This is public corruption at every facet. The entity is subject to federal prison. While I'm documenting, it's evidence about what Arrowhead Regional Medical Center has been doing while they were kidnapping. While I'm documenting, it's about what the Ontario Police Department were doing when they engaged in kidnapping, gang stalking. This is what they were doing. They're going to prison. And it's currently 9:05 p.m. The entity has little minor age demons gang stalking on skateboards with flashlights and communication devices, little sex offenders in training, gang stalking, serving Satan already before they're even 15 years old. It is currently 9:06 p.m. upon my exit, and the sex offenders, who are the people of the state, meeting me at the front door in engineered light in order to be in that turn circle to cross path with the Ontario Police Department, who engaged in kidnapping and stalking at the museum, and then exercising authority under the law that they don't have pursuant to criminal monitoring and surveillance. Speaking about, you cannot sleep here, and you know that I'm sleeping there because you're stalking me. And that does not provide authority under the law. That is not law enforcement. That's going to be addressed, though, with regard to the prosecution of the gang stalking police officers and the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. It is currently 9:06 p.m. Ontario International Airport is confirming that the Ontario Police Department is a gang stalker and that they committed kidnapping while they're gang stalking with the people of the state at the Ontario Town Square, where there's no planes taking off. They're not taking off on G Street and Fern at the Tabor Professional Building. They're not taking off at the Unicare at E Street and Euclid, adjacent to the Starbucks where I'm located, and I'm showing you the fake sun. Planes are not taking off over Woodside Senior Apartments, and planes are not taking off over from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 to be hovering over in any sky space. You wouldn't hear it or see it when they're taking off from the airport and flying in a direction what would be north up into the sky from that airport, Terminal 2 and Terminal 4, to be over very far deviating from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4 at the airport to be hovering over the 280 North Limit Apartments is Ontario Police Department gang stalking. The entity's criminal conduct is going to serve to prosecute the entity itself. It is 9:07 p.m. This is P.O.C. License 8NHS 122 in Ontario International Airport, gang stalking by what is flying in the airspace, which is aerial surveillance, and it's with Ontario Police, who are engaged in criminal summoning. It is currently 9:08 p.m. That's the entity sounding horns, while plane activity is the guise of, like I'm documenting at 3 o'clock in the morning on G Street, just rumbling in the sky space like planes are going to even be heard when they're taking off from the airport. The entity has no intelligent means to stalk with noise because it's demonic. It's demonic. So the entity is engaging in what is admitting that the Ontario International Airport is a gang stalker, but I already did that. I already established that unilaterally with my evidence, where the fake sun remains over me and commercial planes are flying over my head, flying over my hotel room, flying over my vehicle, flying next to me on the freeway, flying over Woodside Senior Apartments, flying over wherever it is that I'm located in Ontario. The entity is engaging in very heavily documented gang stalking, and it's evidence against the Ontario Police Department, who likes to engage in gang stalking by helicopter if you haven't been paying attention to my evidence. That's why they're going to be disbanded. And those gang stalking police officers that are monitoring with these demons right now, all this activity in the background, El Martinez is going to federal prison. So hopefully she maintains that energy when she's being prosecuted, because she's going to federal prison for kidnapping, for gang stalking like she is right now. So is C. Torres, keeping that same energy. I hope so, because he's going to federal prison for gang stalking in the way that the entity is right now. And so is, you have the entity gang stalking B. Hook going to federal prison. And I enthusiastically look forward to the energy level with regard to this documentation being used against them in court, with regard to the criminal conduct that they've been engaged in for years, and the impunity with which they continuously engaged in public corruption and monitoring, stalking an American citizen, engaging in violence against a woman who had the ability to prosecute and prove them for engaging in it. They're going to prison for it. And the entity should keep the same energy level, because it's going to be recognized with regard to how long they're going to federal prison. Okay? The entity is engaging in what is prosecuting itself now. When you're stalking under a fake sun that sits over a building for 11 hours, when you're stalking in a building under a fake sun for 11 hours and you have tornadoes of light all over the place, when you're stalking in the building where the police are engaged in a pattern of making up stuff about me in order to harass while they're stalking me all day long and night long in helicopters, you're putting yourself in prison. It is currently 9:10 p.m. That license plate is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department and these demons that are pacing around an Engineer Light at the C Street turn circle. Okay? Obsessed with my vagina when it's exposed in the bathroom, and obsessed with touching my body, obsessed with every word that comes out of my mouth. Those are the sex offenders stalking in planes. Those are the sex offenders stalking in Ontario police vehicles. Those are the demons that are gang stalking, and they committed a kidnapping. So let me read those names again, because all this activity, all this monitoring, the train, the plane, the people of the state sounding activity, I hope that they have a parade for these demons that are going to prison. El Martinez, C. Torres, B. Hook, and Nathan Morgan, because they're all going to prison. It is currently 9:11 p.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity is including the Ontario Police Department pacing at the C Street turn circle, and pacing is including the Ontario International Airport. So molesting with impossible light, which includes Securitas. Securitas is gang stalking with the demons who are under the fake sun, who you see pacing on Euclid Avenue. The population is stalking me, and the population is a sex offender monitoring me, monitoring my internet activity, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom. There's sex offenders that are stalking, and they're also sex offenders that are touching with satanic means of light while they're driving vehicles. That's gang stalking by the Ontario Police Department. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. That is repeatedly pacing over the 280 North Lemon, the senior citizen apartments at the turn circle. This is Exhibit A, 9:35 p.m. And this is where the Ontario Police is gang stalking, where I'm at. That's audible activity in Engineer Light. And Securitas is gang stalking. Securitas is molesting me with impossible light activity. And Securitas is gang stalking with the people of the state, including with the Ontario Police Department. And the entity is flying over the Ontario City Hall. There's no airport where planes are flying over the Ontario City Hall, flying over the Ontario Senior Center, flying over the Ontario Seniors, the senior apartment complex, or where I am at Starbucks and you're seeing them hovering over in relevant position, doing donuts, flying in one direction and flying back in the opposite direction, like they're doing over Euclid Avenue when the fake sun is over me at Starbucks, like they're doing at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts when I'm showing you the fake moon over me at the museum, where I've documented the fake sun over me there during the day as well. But the entity is engaging what is pacing by planes. The entity is engaging what is pacing at the turn circle, and that's because this is where I'm at. So the demons are engaging in what is stalking with light, and while they're driving in the turn circle, light is flying in an opposite direction than their vehicle, and they're molesting me with that light. So what I want to also document is, again, El Martinez and C. Torres, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook Hook are going to federal prison. This is the gang stalking that they were engaging in. When the entity that is gang stalking me and stalking with light are the ones that engage in criminal summoning, Tracy Banks, and they are engaged in what is kidnapping on May 29, 2025. And the entity that is openly showing that they're gang stalking is the entity that committed kidnapping, going by the names of those Ontario police officers that are engaged in criminal surveillance in the city of Ontario with the corrupt population who are legally referred to as the people of the state. The entity is in gang stalking while on 9:37 p.m. That's again the entity hovering over for the plane to be competing with my voice. That is an admission to planes deviating from taking off from the airport, flying over, hovering over the Ontario City Hall where Paul Leon is a gang stalker, and I've documented the fake sun over that City Hall, but this is where the entity is deviating from any sort of normal operation of an airport where planes are taking off from the airport and never in any direction what would be north, hovering over and competing with my voice to talk on my phone about the entity that is gang stalking. That's the entity openly admitting that it's gang stalking and doing so. And it's to the demise of the demons who are going to prison for it. And their names, again, do not forget who's being documented, while the entity that commits kidnapping upon gang stalking is subject to federal prison, inevitably. And remember, Tracy Banks engaged in criminal summoning. Remember Tracy Banks' sex partner who's been gang stalking me with her and the government for years. His name is Jason Isaac Fields. Remember the entity that I'm documenting by name that are engaging in what is targeting me as an entity, as a state. The entity is doing so, providing evidence about how the state of California is targeting me everywhere that I go. And it includes gang stalking with commercial airline planes like the Ontario International Airport is demonstrating, and stalking with like the demon-possessed, the people of the state in Ontario are demonstrating. The entity is stalking by crossing path, repeatedly driving in the turn circle, which Ontario Police is participating in as well, and doing so with the intent to harass while I'm walking out of the Ovid Family Community Library, and documenting the fact that they're monitoring still. And their monitoring is relevant context to the kidnapping that this entity committed as one. And the entity that put handcuffs on me and took me to without my consent, out of Tracy Banks' apartment is going to prison for it. And the entity that's gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport, their names include C. Torres, L. Martinez, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook. Now, Jason Fields is a gang stalker who's been targeting with the state. He's engaged in what is criminal defamation, and his interest in criminally defaming me with the gang stalking police department that routinely engages in what is stalking and monitoring and harassment and kidnapping in order to criminally defame my character. This is why Tracy Banks, Jason Isaac Fields are interested in this targeting me with regard to profiting from my remaining kidnap. This is what Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks have engaged in with the Ontario Police Department. Understand that. They are engaging in what is targeting me, and these are essentially puppets of the Ontario Police who are doing so for a paycheck, for an incentive, targeting me and engaging in criminal surveillance and engaging in what is, again, public corruption with the people of the state, who you also see through the body evidence of the P.O.C. that they are gang stalking me as well. And this is based on what the entity is engaged in. Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, their purpose, their role in the entity gang stalking is to criminally defame under the Welfare and Institutions Code. There is nothing that is speaking to or a reflection on the targeted individual where the demon-possessed are exhibiting their mental illness by stalking you in commercial planes like the demons of the Ontario International Airport are doing. You hear them flying over the senior citizen complex. You hear them flying. They're flying over the City Hall while they're hovering over in relevant position. And where is it? It's where I'm at in the specific environment where no light fixtures, no light outside is going to cause perpendicular shadows, multiple shadows, where that's relevant to the engineered environment where the Ontario International Airport is essentially providing evidence against the Ontario Police Department, who are gang stalking as a corrupt police department in the city of Ontario in the effort to criminally defame, which is why the entity, the Ontario Police, committed kidnapping again on May 29, 2025, which is also why C. Torres, Nathan Morgan, L. Martinez, and B. Hook are going to federal prison as well. Not only because they're gang stalking police officers, but because they have an incentive to gang stalk as a corrupt police department. That's why they have such heavily documented helicopter activity around me. That's why I've been able to capture that for so many years, and that's why it's tethered to that supernatural environment. And it's also connected to the gang stalking behavior of the people of the state who are stalking under a fake sun and stalking with impossible light and stalking amongst amplified audible activity, and stalking with the Ontario International Airport, who's providing evidence against both co-defendants, the people of the state and the Ontario's police department, including those specific officers. And it's relevant to those whose name I know, such as Jason Isaac Fields, who has engaged in stealing from me while I have been kept under this circumstance, being gang stalked by the city of Ontario, being gang stalked by the state, which is something that Jason Isaac Fields has facilitated and has engaged in what is targeting me. Remember, it's also that spiritual component that I've been speaking about as well. Jason Isaac Fields is a demon-possessed person who's been spiritually attacking me while gang stalking me with the demon-possessed population who fly planes, who fly helicopters, who fly police vehicles, who are stalking me using their business establishments, using their even whatever it is that they have at their disposal, such as light flying out of the side of their cars when they're driving by me, and even while I'm inside of a building. The people of the state, this is what's relevant to Tracy Banks' criminal engagement and criminal summoning. Her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, gang stalking me with the people of the state, that is Tracy Banks, with the intent to steal from me, steal my intellectual property, steal real property, steal personal property that belongs to me. This is what Jason Isaac Fields has been interested in, and it is something that I have never consented to. This is somebody that literally has no purpose whatsoever in my life, and the fact that I am being gang stalked is directly relevant to Jason Isaac Fields' criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct and the motive behind it, and he belongs in federal prison for it as well, especially pursuant to his being a state actor. If Jason Isaac Fields being a government actor working in law enforcement, another basis for being in federal prison, but based on the prolonged amount of years targeting me and in facilitating it with people like Tracy Banks, a hitman who was calling the police on a routine basis when I have committed no crime whatsoever and when I suffer no mental illness whatsoever. And the evidence also supports that. And what it is that I've been documenting that Jason Isaac Fields is aware of in order to obstruct justice, in order to keep me criminally defamed on paper, where he is profiting from that, where Tracy Banks is profiting from it, where the Ontario police who are accepting incentives for gang stalking me as a police department intend to profit from it. This is what's relevant with regard to the entity that's going to federal prison by gang stalking commercial planes, by gang stalking as a police department, by gang stalking as the people of the state by residents such as the people of the state at Woodside Senior Apartments, such as the people of the state at Alvarado Gardens, by gang stalking by place of employment such as the people of the state at Alvarado Gardens of Speaker Companies and at Woodside Senior Apartments of Avanath Capital Management. The entity that is engaging in the P.O.C. is doing so with the intent to kidnap and murder. And this is what's relevant with regard to Tracy Banks' motive behind blatantly and plainly and clearly and obviously and in a proven manner to be lying about what is underway when she is summoning the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police Department who are going to prison for kidnapping upon gang stalking, and they're doing so with the Ontario International Airport that's providing evidence against them, meaning they are gang stalking while the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking, hovering over a senior citizen complex at 9:37 p.m. And immediately again, as I begin documenting, and simultaneously the people of the state are engaging in what you've also seen a lot of evidence of, the supernatural character of the light that coexists with their presence when they're engaging in what is actually pacing all around because the environment is abnormal. It's engineered. They're in light that creates multiple shadows, perpendicular shadows, magnified size of shadows, and that's the significance of them being all around me, where they are pacing and monitoring together with the Ontario International Airport, with the Ontario Police Department. And this is the same entity that Tracy Banks is a part of, that Jason Isaac Fields is a part of, seeking to profit off of my death, seeking to profit off of my remaining kidnapped, and off of my being in a defamed state. This is why Arrowhead Regional Medical Center gang stalking and abusing the practice of medicine is also subject to federal prison. This is tying together all angles of that case of what is targeting by a corrupt entity that is doing so, and what are the reasons why that the entity does so. Yes, because they are demons. This is exposing demonic activity. These are the demon possessed, but they have tangible purposes for why they are incentivized in targeting me. Somebody being told that they're going to be given money, somebody told that they're going to be given a stake and something that they're going to gain, somebody being told that they're going to be a part of something if they are able to accomplish. These are the type of schemes that the entity that has been gang stalking me for years, that Jason Isaac Fields, that Tracy Banks is a part of. And Jason Isaac Fields is not accepted from federal prison. Jason Isaac Fields is not engaging in any investigation. He's been gang stalking me the entire time. He's been gang stalking and engaged in kidnapping as an entity as well, engaged in what is targeting me with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, targeting me with the Ontario Police Department, targeting me with the people of the state, targeting me with Tracy Banks the entire time, his sex partner. All right, he's a part of the same sex cult, a part of the same witch coven that's been engaged in what is the satanic practice of federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is somebody that belongs in federal prison. He's targeting me with the Ontario International Airport. He is targeting, again, while abusing his position in government. If this third party, in the way that I know him, telling me that he works for Target, but this person is somebody that is very likely lying about his position, lying about his occupation, and is abusing a government position while he is targeting me with the state. So that is also relevant, and it is what is requiring federal prison, okay, based on the conspiracy to take my life, based on the conspiracy to take my liberty and take my property. That's the reason why they're targeting, because they want money, because they want property that doesn't belong to them, and they're not going to keep it, and they're also going to lose their liberty. I am at the Ovid Family Community Library, where the Ontario International Airport is exhibiting impunity as an entity. That's the Ontario Police Department's impunity, where they are engaging in what is kidnapping, violence against a woman, and acting out with some unfounded basis of audacity and boldness when they are under all circumstances surrounded with irreducible and insurmountable evidence, and the people of the state are sharing in that impunity and that exhibition, that ongoing exposure of their malice, while they're engaging in what is evidence that no federal court is going to disregard with regard to the prosecution of the people of the state, the domestic terrorists themselves, the people of the state, and this system of public corruption, gang stalking, federal group stalking and monitoring. It's currently 9:48 p.m. What I also want to document is the entity that is gang stalking engaged in what is federal stalking on the video of the internet, and that is making the podcast that I published this morning. I want to be clear, anytime that you are looking at the podcast specifically on YouTube that is not available for the current date, it's because the entity is engaged in federal stalking under Title 18, and that's with the intent to obstruct justice. That is an ongoing admission. While the entity engaged in criminal conduct, it is always, when you're legally analyzing it, an admission against them for this very conduct that I have asserted from the beginning, that the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance, not only in relevant position, i.e. gang stalking, but also on the venue of the internet. Surveillance is underway online. Surveillance is underway via communication devices by the very demons who are gang stalking. And it's unconstitutional and inhumane. It's relevant to psychological torture that I'm documenting right now, while the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police, and the people of the state are stalking with light and stalking with amplified noise. You heard plane, you heard train, you heard the entity that is, let me be clear, in the specific environment, all of that noise in the background is directed toward me for monitoring. And these are demons, the living dead, that are telling themselves that they have something to celebrate when they've been surrounded with very damning evidence. If you've been paying attention to the P.O.C, if you've been paying attention to what it is I'm publishing, and they're also lying to themselves and thinking there's no way that they can think that I'm under any circumstances deceived by that, because the entity is on the venue of the internet at the same time making my YouTube podcast private, so that you, the public who are witnessing the champion that Christ Jesus makes his children against Satan and the children of the devil, who are going to serve consequences in the physical that includes federal prison. They are rendering, pursuant to federal stalking, making my evidence. That's evidence that against the government, that it is making private because they're embarrassed, because they're incriminated by it. It is still published on my podcast. It's still published. It's just on YouTube, and that's relevant because it's relevant with regard to what is publishing wide. YouTube is one of the largest platforms. YouTube is where the entity is using my documentation and exposing what is going on. And so it is a key role. It is a key role with regard to publishing what's going on in real time. And the entity is intentionally making that podcast private, and then also simultaneously turning off the Wi-Fi access at the venue where they're gang stalking at the same time for the Ontario International Airport and for the City of Ontario. Did that at 9:30 p.m. The City of Ontario does not render its Wi-Fi in a inaccessible. The entity did that upon my documenting the fact that my podcast for today, which is June 11, 2025, where I published it today so that you could hear about who's going to federal prison. C. Torres, L. Martinez, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook are going to federal prison, and so is Corey Watson, who arrived to gang stalk me in my face at Starbucks, which is an unlawful threat. Whether he's in police uniform or whether he's looking ashy and crusty in civilian uniform, he's gang stalking. He's communicating a threat as a kidnapper, and one that is employed and working or at least previously identified with the Ontario Police Department. He is gang stalking under all circumstances with the Ontario Police Department, like Starbucks is, like the people of the state are, like the Ontario International Airport is, like the Ovid Family Community Library is. Like the people of the state whose license plates I read when they're stalking me with light upon my entrance outside, stalking in the path with light. They're stalking with the Ontario Police Department. The entity made this podcast that I published today, and I never do that, and that's evidence that you can observe on your own. Anytime that you go to the YouTube channel and you can't find my podcast for the day, unless I have not yet published it, which you can confirm on Spotify, on Amazon Music, you can get it on Apple Podcasts, on any other platform. You can get it on my website at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, and you will see that the podcast is published. The entity is engaging in federal stalking, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, with the intent to obstruct justice, because these demons are not actually celebratory. They're fearful. They're very fearful, and that's why they're embarrassed by the evidence that they try to make private so that you can't hear the evidence of how I am literally pummeling Satan, a whole entity that tried to kill me off, tried to silence me, and tried to defame me in order to kidnap me. What things like Tracy Banks did, things like what Jason Isaac Fields did, and both of them belong in federal prison and mental asylums respectively. All right, it is currently 9:52 p.m. I will be publishing this podcast, and I want to make sure that I add this onto it because the entity is engaging in obstruction of justice. There's no planes that take off over the Ontario City Hall. There's no planes that take off over senior citizen complexes either. The entity is very unintelligent in its gang stalking tactics, and that's because the entity never estimated or never anticipated scrutiny with regard to being prosecuted for public corruption. Why is an investigation into why are planes flying over the senior citizen complex that's outside of what is ordinary zoning practices based on the type of living circumstances that elderly people sign up for and seek out? And why also are the senior citizens not complaining about it? Because they are gang stalking as well. But nonetheless, this is a common sense level of scrutiny with regard to the specific environment and the clear, plain deviation from the Ontario International Airport to be flying anywhere near me at the Ovid Family Community Library, which the Ontario International Airport has been doing for years. And it's evidence against the Ontario Police Department. The entire entity, including the Ontario International Airport, is gang stalking. And as one part of the entity is gang stalking, the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking. This is why you don't engage in a criminal conspiracy to target, because that entire entity is going down for that crime, just like how you prosecute a robbery. And this is the unintelligent demons, their criminal conduct being used against each other. But the Ontario Police Department has committed enough for me to prosecute based on their actions directly. But their criminal co-defendants, the demon-possessed that are equally unintelligent, their criminal conduct is going to be used against the Ontario Police Department to put kidnappers in prison and to remove the Ontario Police Department from existence, to disband them. It's 9:54 p.m. Criminal surveillance with the intent to obstruct justice by turning my podcast, exercising control over evidence while exercising control over my YouTube channel and unpublishing, if you will, my podcast that I published on the YouTube channel today. And I do not make my podcasts unpublish them unless I'm refreshing it or something. And I did not do that. I've been working on publishing the details of the kidnapping today. I published the podcast, and the entity went behind and on the venue of the internet controlling. That's a criminal offense. It's federal stalking, but it's also with the intent to obstruct justice, because these demons that are sounding horns like they're happy about being prosecuted for gang stalking in California are embarrassed about the evidence and don't want you to see it on YouTube. It's currently 9:54 p.m. This is the prosecution of the state of California. This is P.O.C. All right, criminal summoning at 10:05 p.m. and immediately proceeding, I'm being subject to I'm sitting in the hallway adjacent to the adjacent to the library. So this is documentation of the city of Ontario that's engaging in ongoing terrorism, like what's happening inside of Starbucks with the impossible light activity. When you see them having dancing light on the wall where they're at their drive-through window, when you're seeing the impossible light that's dragging on the sidewalk in the building, when the demons are driving on Euclid Avenue, like what you see, the impossible light, the tornadoes of lights swimming across the wall and the ceilings on the inside of the Starbucks. And it's moving in sync with the demons that are crossing path, pacing as one entity, ceaselessly stalking on Euclid Avenue, driving in the direction north. The entity is molesting my person, so I want to document a sex offense by the city of Ontario, repeatedly molesting me with impossible light activity as the people of the state are pacing repeatedly, and it's an act of harassment by the entity that's engaging in what is an unlawful touching And it's an unlawful touching that's psychologically harmful. That supernatural feature with regard to headlights are not causing headlights on a vehicle are not causing light to veer in the opposite direction of where the vehicle is turning. And it's very concentrated light. It's blinding. It's the same thing that the demons are doing when I'm driving a vehicle, and that is done with the intent to cause a substantial bodily harm, if not death, when I'm driving a dangerous machine like my car. And these same demons are stalking with impossible light on the roads and the highways. This is what they're doing when I'm seated on the side of the library right now, and they're doing it repeatedly upon my exit at 9 p.m. I was documenting it, and they have been continuously engaging that. So I want to this is a sex offense by the city of Ontario. The government is going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. Businesses are going to be prosecuted as sex offenders. The people of the state, obviously, prosecuted as sex offenders. But understand, this is a crime committed by an entity, and it's satanic. And the entity, it resorts to such tactics based on what is a passive-aggressive satiation with inflicting some sort of harm. So a psychopath drives by and is molesting with impossible light while they go on with the rest of their night. And this is how a corrupt government is gang stalking as a population. They go on with the rest of their day like nothing is happening when they're gang stalking an American citizen. Those are psychopaths that are violent sex offenders, and they're conspiring murder and kidnap and psychological harm of an American citizen. So I want to document the city of Ontario engaging in the perpetual sex offense, molesting me and harassing me while I'm being accosted with impossible light, while the people of the state are acting in conformity to its pattern of conduct, which is Ontario Police Department's engagement in that. And this is what they were engaging in when they committed kidnapping, pursuant to what is the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. It is currently 10:09 p.m. where I'm subject to that ongoing offense, which is the perpetual sex offense with light, this offense with impossible light. It's pursuant to monitoring, it's pursuant to harassment, it's pursuant to psychological torture, and it's pursuant to terrorism, domestic terrorism. This is P.O.C. 10:54 p.m. You'll see the city of Ontario being a demon, driving a city of Ontario vehicle, creeping in the middle of the night, meeting in the path, stalking in the path. That's gang stalking. My shadows are on both sides of myself. And the city of Ontario is gang stalking using planes, gang stalking using amplified train, and gang stalking using the municipality vehicles driving around the venue, gang stalking and engineer light with the people of the state. So they are sharing in that with the demons that are the people of the state that are in their own little private vehicles, gang stalking together. So the city of Ontario is engaged in criminal surveillance and domestic terrorism, and using government vehicles, the city of Ontario vehicles, to do so, which I heavily documented as well, by the way, with them gang stalking under the fake sun. The city of Ontario engaging in what are the criminal elements of monitoring while they're literally driving around in City of Ontario vehicles. They're gang stalking. They're gang stalking as they do everything that they're doing in the specific environment around me as well. They're the demon possessed. And at 10:54 at night, a demon is driving a City of Ontario vehicle, which is attributed to the demon possession, the corruption of Paul Leon, who was unfit and to be removed from office. Just like every other demon that's over these corrupt departments that are gang stalking in Ontario. It is currently 10:55 p.m. in the moment that I start walking, like the demons that are monitoring my vagina, they are engaged in what is stalking in the path, meaning moving in stride with me. As I move, they move. They're stalkers, and doing so in a vehicle with regard to stalking in the path with light. All right, it is currently 10:55 p.m. The podcast is published right now, but obviously I'm walking and I'm still documenting because the demons are still stalking. So this is going to be added onto it. It's 10:55, so the moment after I'm uploaded and republished the podcast that these demons try to hide. These demons try to hide the evidence today by making it private on YouTube. It is republished right now, and I am documenting as I'm walking up the street. So I have 3 shadows vacillating from the left and right of my person and moving from behind me to in front of me. That's how you know that these demons are stalking the people of the state. All right, and that's exposing the demon possessed. If not alone, the light activity when they are driving in traffic and I'm inside a Starbucks, as you saw this week. That's the demon possessed that fill the city of Ontario. They're all gang stalking as a whole city. This is the living dead, which is a real thing. It's not a movie. These are the demon possessed, and they're all stalking me together. It is currently 10:56 p.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:58 p.m. and I am documenting by myself, as I have been since 2018, the pattern of conduct. License 8ZMK144 is a demon gang stalking with inexplicable light just flashing, not from their headlights. That's a demon, and they're stalking while they are crossing path on Euclid Avenue and D Street. And so is 736-3257. 736-3257. Oh, I said it correctly the first time. The first time I said it is correct. License 7VDA336. These are demons that are stalking in the path while the entity is sounding train activity. They're all monitoring. So I'm reading their license plates. So is Glorias Cochinas. All right, those are the Spanish-speaking demons in Ontario gang stalking right now. And a demon goes out of his way to make a U-turn so he can cross path again in a black truck with blue lights. License 7MVK967. License. Let me get these license plates over here because the entity is sounding, what the entity is engaging in, when they're engaging in the elements, it's because the people of the state are gang stalking in the path. This is why you have plane activity, and this is why you have helicopter activity over the people of the state's apartment homes and over their houses, because they're gang stalking, they're monitoring as well, while the police even fly in circles over their houses, which they don't complain about because they're gang stalking with the police. Those demons are hostile and are monitoring me as well. License plate 9JIW351, gang stalking. All right, monitoring with the City of Ontario has ongoing illicit train activity and light just sparking in the middle of the intersection. While these demons show their demon possession, I'm going to document them for criminal surveillance. License 7MFY370, and this is Ontario Police that's gang stalking with the demon-possessed population. While they drive on Euclid Avenue, a light show appears inside a Starbucks. They're gang stalking at night as well. 9JUPO63. License 8NPE589. License 8BKG642. License 8UVA426. License, and this is Glorias Cochinas that is documented under the fake sun at all hours of the day, by the way, at D Street and Euclid. This music is audible activity. They're monitoring inside of the venue with the demons that have, the more that I document, the more satanic their behavior is. And that satanic behavior is attributed to and recognized through the impossible light activity. So that's what they're doing in the street. Right now, the demons begin manifesting as I document them. License 9BBL137, criminal monitoring, 9AUK812, monitoring. And Glorias Cochinas, monitoring. Anybody that's a gang stalking immigrant, they're going to be subject to deportation. You've been granted the privilege to be in this country. It doesn't include to engage in gang stalking with corrupt police departments like Ontario Police. You're going to be deported. License PINAL1, engaging in domestic terrorism with these demons that are crossing path on Euclid Avenue, stalking with the possible light activity, stalking with the amplified train. They're all monitoring together, engaging in federal stalking together. That's a serious federal case as I document them. And it's all about the Ontario Police's gang stalking. So don't forget about that. License DB41U60. That's a paper plate. My shadows on both sides of myself, while the demons of Glorias Cochinos engage in creating activity by dancing in the engineer light on the sidewalk. After I document them, that's the psychopaths that engage in passive aggression criminal conduct. Dancing in engineer light is accomplishing monitoring me. License plate. And the demons that don't recognize they're getting prosecuted, they think that they're harming themselves. Flinging light, I'm going to prosecute you as your mental illness is exposed and you're going to be diagnosed and prosecuted for it. You're group stalking by admission. That is exposing yourself. You want to in court be like, oh no, I'm not gang stalking. Oh yes, you are. Look at that light activity. 6PB0346. Demons pacing. License 6UYR597. 6UYR597. A series of demons around the corner crossing path together. As I document, they're all gathering together around the perimeter to cross path at the traffic lights. They're all stalking as an entity. It's not traffic. They're stalking. They're all stalking. That's what's so pathetic about the demon possessed, about the living dead. And the fact that they sling light around, that shows that they're mentally ill. They're very sick. These are the demons that engage in, oh, I'm mad at you, I'm going to throw light at you. That's Satan There's this demonic ritualistic behavior with impossible light activity, and they always want to touch on my body with it. License. Driving as far away from me as possible while stalking with light. This third-party crossing path. Knowledge about being documented as well. That's what's gathered from that. License. Let me see. 8JFD776. All right, and the entity is engaging, again, amplified train activity, and I start documenting, and the train activity ceases. All right, the entity is not engaging in what is, it does not hurt my, this is the pettiness of Satan that's using these people who are all together stalking me. The demon possessed. The entity is engaging in the elements of monitoring, and it's proving the fact of gang stalking, as opposed to what the demon possessed are focused on, engaging in some delusional effort of retaliation because you're throwing light all over the place. You know what I do? I document those videos of impossible light regarding the scientific phenomenon of directed light, engineered light, where you are aware of the fact that criminal monitoring, criminal surveillance is satanic, and it is affecting your communication devices, and it is government conduct, and it is shared by a population that has an identical condition. They're the demon possessed. The ability of your vehicle to be in motion and impossible light moving at the same time as your vehicle is driving by me, which is, again, not coming from the car. Nobody's selling any vehicles. There's no merchandise where vehicles are shooting out light. And the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct of stalking with light. I've documented it for years. The entity doing so while they are in traffic is a systematic means of showing how a whole population is, in fact, stalking. Stalking with regard to following me and engaging in this supernatural behavior, following with regard to a population that's engaging in it together, doing so while I'm documenting the government that likes to engage in kidnapping me and making up information about me and doing so. It is literally gang stalking. And the demon possessed are engaged in doing this because this is all that the dead have at their disposal. But as you engage in throwing light, you're stalking by admission. You're monitoring. And that's domestic terrorism. That's a very serious federal case. The entity is, again, always exposing itself. Why would the Ontario International Airport include itself in that pattern of conduct? Because the mentally ill, who are the demon-possessed, lack self-control, and they have never been approached with the consequences, nor do they really fully understand the size of those consequences. Fully met with those consequences when they're engaged in what is successfully kidnapping people, defaming people, killing off people, bullying people, and none of it whatsoever, none of it is going, it's working, it's not working, it's not successful, it's literally irrelevant when I'm prosecuting you, and the entity is not even intellectually capable to understand the significance and the complexity of the prosecution for gang stalking. All right, as a government and as a supernatural, that is a demonic pattern of conduct. License 8SST690. Gang stalking by stalking in the path at the driveway. The entity knows where I'm going, so you're already you're already in your car in position with regard to moving it as I am approaching, crossing path, stalking with light. All right, so the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and that's what I do, and that's why I capture it, and it's for your benefit. And that's, again, exposing mental illness. Actual mental illness is suffered by the demon possessed. All right, their mental illness has gotten them into a pickle that they are not going to be able to get out of, and they are also not going to avoid what is the consequences for terrorism, stalking someone with satanic means that is inherently psychologically harmful as a pattern of conduct, and it's not going to be something that's just, oh, well, it's a pattern of conduct supernatural, meaning nobody can make that up. I couldn't make that up if I wanted to. And it takes a sick person to even think up this stuff, and it's not a reflection on the target individual. I merely documented it in order to prosecute what I already knew at the outset was demonic, and that even that term demonic is so misconstrued, and that's intentional with regard to Satan's agenda, and you remaining ignorant about the demonic, you remaining ignorant about Satan, you remaining ignorant about demon possession, about the massive amount of people who are in darkness, and a population, a whole state that's engaged in gang stalking is speaking volumes about how many people are living hollowed out zombies. They're already dead. They're the living dead. They're up in the middle of the night stalking me. They're not going to Jack in the Box to get something to eat. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct. The city is engaged in what is targeting me together, and these demons take shifts. Well, I'm gonna go now because she's over there. I'm gonna cross path. I'm in the park. Like, this is what the demons are doing. And they literally organize the police department, the fire department, the ambulances, the airport. They're the living dead. And as the government engages in that, they demonstrate the lack of necessity of that airport, the lack of necessity for that police department, the lack of necessity for that ambulatory service, the lack of necessity for that fire department, because they have so much more prioritized. They have more prioritized what is stalking one person together. That's what the Ontario Fire Department are doing. When you hear them selling sirens, the fake sun is over me. It's about me. It's not even about a genuine emergency. For you to tailor the government services in the city around one person that you're stalking, and this person, I didn't even commit a crime, but that's not even how you investigate somebody for committing a crime. This is unheard of with regard to the level of sickness and necessarily included in gang stalking. Only the dead engage in this. Only demon-possessed people. Only demon-possessed people are stalking with activities, stalking with light. Okay, the entities engaging in what is a supernatural pattern of conduct, and the demon-possessed are engaging in, perhaps they're susceptible, maybe when they were touched with engineered light, they immediately got a spirit on them. Don't ask me the details about that part, but I know that they're demon-possessed, and their light flinging is evidence against them. It's not affecting me. I'm documenting it so that you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say impossible light activity. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say directed light, because nobody's hallucinating about anything. Nobody's imagining anything. They're imagining that supernatural satanic stalking behavior, which is revealing their mental sickness and their shared obsession with me, that it's not going to go anywhere, that people are going to forget it, that it's not going to have any effect on their life and their future prospects, and what's going to happen to them with regard to a very real prosecution for public corruption in the United States, domestic terrorism. The government stalking people with the American, I don't like to call it, but literally, technically, this is the civilian population. It's just that they're highly uncivilized. These are animals. This is barbaric behavior. All right, which the demon-possessed don't want that to be known. All right, they want to monitor my vagina. They want to know about the details about what's going on between my legs. They want to know about what it is that I'm doing in the bathroom. They want to be in the shared space when I get disrobed. That's how much of sex offenders, that's how much they are obsessed with me. But at the same time, they do not want that spoken of. To hear it said out loud, they start cringing, and it's their behavior. They're doing it. It's them. Ontario Police gang stalking. License plate, monitoring my vagina, 1591672, crossing path with the people of the state, meeting at what is Laurel and G Street. And the people of the state are stalking in the parking lot. As I'm talking about monitoring my vagina and them cringing while they listen to the details, the Ontario police that engage in kidnapping know exactly where I'm at right now, and the Ontario police are openly engaging in that communication of a threat. C. Torres is going to federal prison for the gang stalking of the Ontario police, and the demons that lack any self-control, that are obsessively monitoring my vagina, that are stalking me from place to place in concert with the demon-possessed population that sling light around. By the way, I have the Ontario Police Department stalking with light as well. They're demons. They are demons. In case you did not know that, when they're flying in circles in helicopters over me all around the city, they are demons. And the Ontario Police license 8UJJ305, I believe, are gang stalking with the people of the state, and the Ontario Police Department is on the record stalking with impossible light as well. They are the demon-possessed and know exactly where I'm at and cross path right now, and C. Torres is going to federal prison for that because C. Torres is a gang stalking police officer who committed kidnapping as an entity. All right, and so did L. Martinez, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook. All right, Ontario Police is gang stalking with this demon license 4HKN392. This demon is sitting in the vehicle in the parking lot with the lights on, stalking in the path. And so is license 8SSN671, stalking with the Ontario Police Department. These are demons that stalk with light in the path. Multiple shadows is what's relevant to this maintaining presence in the path with some sort of manifestation of light. License 6CDH 615, and this is a population that shares knowledge about my vagina on a 24-hour basis. 9KPS 948. Monitoring my vagina with the Ontario Police. All right, and those police officers that committed kidnapping with this entity, that's gang stalking at the police department, they're going to federal prison, and they're still gang stalking. So that's speaking to worthiness of federal prison. License 7VZD 336. It's 11:13 p.m. License 9DTY 782. And let me show you Ontario Police gang stalking, trying to communicate a threat right now. Ontario PD is over here crossing path, knowing that I'm documenting the gang stalkers who are the people of the state. The entity is doing so in engineered light. This demon knows that I'm documenting right now and followed me into the parking lot after I just documented the license plate walking on Laurel and G Street. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping. This is the entity that's gang stalking under the fake moon and during the day under the fake sun. 1591672, vehicle number 1031. That's a Latino male, or he looks like an olive skin male. He's a demon and he's gang stalking. This is P.O.C. Here's a shadow right here, if you can see it. And the Ontario Police call themselves communicating a threat while I'm documenting the people of the state. That's why Nathan Morgan's going to federal prison for gang stalking. That's why C. Torres is going to federal prison for gang stalking. That's why B. Hook is going to federal prison for gang stalking. And that is also why L. Martinez is going to federal prison for gang stalking. They're stalking in the path right now at the Ontario International Airport, which is also stalking as an airport, amplifying plane activity. And the people of the state are stalking in the a parking lot, maintaining light. And so I'm documenting on podcast. And as I talk about the Ontario Police who are monitoring my vagina obsessively 24 hours a day, and they are then also hostile because I expose their sexual violence, the violence that they like to inflict against women, doing things like stalking me in a parking lot because as I'm documenting the people of the state. That's an unlawful threat posed by the kidnappers who are the Ontario Police. That male is subject to federal prison. He's operating an Ontario Police Department vehicle and openly engaging in criminal surveillance in the specific environment where the entity is gang stalking and engaged in heavily documented gang stalking in helicopters day and night, engaging in kidnapping on May 29, 2025, engaged in what is more than 20 instances of gang stalking me since release from kidnapping on June 3rd, 2025, and is engaged in what is an act of obstruction of justice while I'm documenting the people of the state. Again, that's a male operating the Ontario vehicle, crossing path over here, I documented on podcast, meeting me at the corner, stalking, and then engaging in what is coming back, creeping in the parking lot, pacing all around while I'm documenting these demons who are gang stalking. This gym is a third party, they're monitoring, and the people of the state are all monitoring. This is all light activity. And the fake sun is over this parking lot as I've already documented during the day. That's P.O.C. That's the Ontario Police that are gang stalking, and that's a communication of a threat. That's why the Ontario Police is being disbanded. They're gang stalkers, and they engage in violence against women, stalking and monitoring and communicating a threat. I'm going to document the people to say that are monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, including this third party that's light activity and engineered light. Multiple shadows. This is P.O.C. They're engaged in federal stalking as well. License 7GPK012. And this is what the Ontario Police Department is doing when they're following me around in helicopters as well. So they're misusing police resources, gang stalking in police vehicles, gang stalking in helicopters, and incentivizing public corruption, stalking women, violence against women. You have perverts monitoring my vagina in bathrooms. You have them stalking me in the middle of the night. You have them monitoring, stalking with amplified noise with all manner of fire departments and ambulatory services, and the police department that's gang stalking with a whole bunch of demons in the city. This is the specific environment. This is what you're paying attention to. And during the day, it's the fake sun. This is the same block where the entity is keeping the fake sun over Euclid Avenue at the Starbucks. The people of the state are gang stalking, and they're doing so with the Ontario Police, who you see on video. They encourage it. That's why they're being disbanded. That's, again, license 7GPK012. Here's my shadow here, and here's my shadow here. This is gang stalking. There's another one there. That's gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Those are the psychopaths that sit around stalking in the Starbucks all day long while lights flying all over the place, and the Ontario Police Department engaged in just what you saw, flying over my head by helicopters and pacing all around, stalking in the parking lot. And this is the entity that is doing so with knowledge that is being documented. L. Martinez, you have what is C. Torres, and the entity that is engaging in this pattern of conduct where you're looking at this light activity, where demons are stalking in the path with light. All right, that's relevant to what is monitoring. All right, this is the entity that is obsessively monitoring, and the Ontario Police Department's obsession with my vagina and their engagement, their pattern of kidnapping is why they are being disbanded. All right, it is currently, again, when you see the Ontario Police engaging what is approaching me in the museum under the fake moon, where the entity is keeping the fake sun over me during the day, this is the engineered environment where you're recognizing the demon possessed or stalking as an entity. All right, and that's what's going on at 1 o'clock in the morning. 8LXL654 is engaged in gang stalking and actually is a demon referencing Jesus around that license plate frame. He's a demon. He's engaged in gang stalking. That's just want to get to that. And the specific environment, speaking of perpendicular shadows, is what's informing the Ontario Police Department's direct presence engaging in gang stalking with the people of the state. Presence in the engineered light, the ongoing audible activity, planes taking off here, trains sounding over here, the police stalking by helicopter. You've seen them flying over me by circles, gang stalking with those over and under the age of majority in the engineered light. Here's one shadow, and here's another shadow here, and here's another shadow here. This is where the Ontario Police engage in what is making an unlawful threat of an American citizen while you're looking at them engage in monitoring in plain sight. They don't have to say anything to you. That's why they're engaging in that P.O.C, and they know they're being documented, and their partners are going to prison for it. That's an unlawful threat. That's demonic pacing. That's P.O.C. Vehicle 1031. All right, the entities engaged in gang stalking, the Ontario Police Department is going to be disbanded. This same impunity and malice with regard to criminal monitoring is exactly what's going to be used against them. They're engaged in kidnapping upon criminal surveillance. That's not law enforcement, and their partners are going to prison, and the Ontario Police is being disbanded. They're stalking, obsessively stalking. P.O.C. It is currently 11:19 p.m. This is demonic pacing that the Ontario Police share in. When the people of the state are stalking with impossible light, the Ontario Police Department is stalking with impossible light. They're demon possessed. And they're corrupt, but they're demon possessed. Know that about them. P.O.C. All right, the video you just listened to includes the people of the state gang stalking with the Ontario Police that are pacing all around. So they're like cockroaches. And as the police are following from, this is psychological torture that gang stalking police engage in, following you around, arriving wherever that you're at. And they don't have to address you or speak to you when they're gang stalking you. And this is what the police are doing. And it's noted by heavy police presence in that specific environment that I've shown you. It's identified through the environment that's shown to be targeting you through things such as a fake sun remaining over your head, through amplified audible activity, the entity engaging what is the hallmark of stalking, following you around in helicopter. So it's the same thing with helicopter. They don't have to, obviously they're not talking to you in a helicopter. I mean, they could, I guess, but they're obviously not talking to you, but you're talking about heavy helicopter presence everywhere you're at, heavy police presence everywhere that you're at, the entity keeping a fake sun. This is how you're identifying targeting, and this is what the Ontario Police Department are doing, and they're doing it while I'm documenting them. I want to be clear, the Ontario Police is communicating an unlawful threat while I'm telling them about their partners who are going to prison. The entity engaged in what is pacing around, ominous pacing inside of this parking lot, while the demons, who are the people of the state, are all engaged in surveillance, sitting around the parking lot with their headlights on, and that's relevant to what is the engineer light. So they're stalking with regard to monitoring. The demons are always wanting to touch, maintain some sort of light in my path while they're gang stalking with the police who arrive driving by on Laurel and G Street. Well, like I documented that license plate, and then as I go into the parking lot, as I narrated, and I'm reading their license plate, the state actor of the Ontario Police then enters into the parking lot, turning their headlights off, just driving with the upper lights, the dimmer headlights, and sitting and driving in slow motion in the parking lot. This is crossing path. The demons, they can make up whatever they want. Oh, we were looking for it. They can say, it doesn't matter what they say. The demon possessed engage in pacing and engineer light. On their way to work, they're stalking with impossible light activity. En route, while they're gang stalking, they go to Starbucks and pick up a drink while they're criminally monitoring under the fake sun that I remain under while they're in and out pacing as an entity at Starbucks. It doesn't matter what the police state that they're doing. They are engaged in, first of all, federal stalking, know every word that I'm documenting in real time, communicating in a lawful threat, and that's exactly how you're going to analyze the stalker. That is the state, and it is acting via the Ontario Police in that specific environment with the people of the state that are engaged in the criminal bidding of that Ontario Police Department. That engaged in very recent kidnapping while they are providing that evidence against themselves, stalking me in a dark parking lot in the specific environment under the fake moon all day long under the fake sun that remains on this same block where I'm documenting as you pay attention. The fake sun and the fake moon, I have not not gone before, more advanced I have not advanced beyond what is G Street and the Ontario Museum of History and Arts and the fake sun all day long and the fake moon over the same less than 2 miles span. The entity is gang stalking as the Ontario Police Department are surrounded with evidence while they're focusing on me and focusing on my vagina and hate the fact that I expose that about these sex offenders and these gang members that have been put on into a corrupt police department under Mike LORENZ. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and that evidence showing their demon possession while they're gang stalking me. They're a bunch of puppets that did so for profit, for incentive. This is why, again, demons like Jason Isaac Fields are going to federal prison. This is why they belong in federal prison. Tracy Banks criminally summoning. They rely on the people of the state to summon them. Oh, the target individual just stole a candy bar from the store, so that they can kidnap you, manufacture charges, and yes, they don't. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. They're relying on it, and they act on that in order to engage in kidnapping. That's not law enforcement either. And the entity is engaging in what is a disingenuous search for the truth. It's not a genuine search for the truth. This is how they get you into the system. It is the system of targeting. Nonetheless, the entity is ominously stalking in this parking lot, which is the specific environment, and doing so with the people of the state who are gang stalking in real time. This is the same venue, the same location where the entity is engaging in what is kidnapping at Woodside Senior Apartments. Okay, and this is the entity that is gang stalking as a citywide effort. And the more that I document, the more Ontario Police makes its presence known. That's an unlawful threat as well. The more that I document, the more heavy and spectacular the impossible light activity by the people of the state who are gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. That's a threat as well. All of these details are relevant to the disbanding of the Ontario Police, and it's relevant to the federal imprisonment of gang stalkers such as L. Martinez of the Ontario Police Department, C. Torres of the Ontario Police Department, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook, who are gang stalking with these demons at Woodside Senior Apartments, who stalk with impossible light like you see at Starbucks, who are stalking with the Ontario International Airport like you see even at Starbucks, and you've seen at Woodside Senior Apartments where you've seen the fake sun rising and setting. When I'm nowhere near Starbucks, when I'm nowhere near what is Los Angeles, which is maintaining the same specific environment, because LAPD is gang stalking like Ontario PD is right now, incapable of controlling themselves. That's how heavily documented the LAPD is with their helicopters gang stalking me under the fake sun. The entity is doing so because I'm documenting, and the entity that lacks self-control, that's obsessed with stalking me and my vagina, is doing more so of it in a more obvious and ominous manner because of the fact I'm documenting while they're engaged in surveillance, knowing exactly what I'm stating, knowing exactly where I'm at. And the specific environment is the proof of that, because no light fixtures, no street lamps, no headlights create perpendicular shadows, multiple shadows. They are stalking in the specific environment, as that proves that. That environment is there for purposes of the satanic system of monitoring of what is surveillance that's also underway via communication devices. And this is relevant to the unlawful threat that entire police department poses. While they're not engaged in law enforcement, they're engaged in open stalking that I am detailing moment by moment. And the entity that's engaged in what is driving in slow motion, stalking me in this dark parking lot, that's the police department that's going to be disbanded. And it's every kidnapper, including Corey Watson, that was gang stalking at the Starbucks today, is subject to federal prison, because this is the criminal conduct that you're engaging in. And no law enforcement officer is engaged in criminal surveillance and then exercising authority under the law like you're not stalking somebody when you're getting information about what it is that they're allegedly engaging in violation of the law. All right, the entity is not only doing that, which is not law enforcement, the entity makes up information about me. Makes up information that I'm violating, interfering with, getting physically violent with Tracy Banks, for example. That's a lie that the entity made up. Interfering with an ongoing investigation. First of all, they're gang stalking when they're engaged in criminal summoning. Second of all, when I'm standing on the curb and taking a picture of the license plate, I'm not interfering with anything that you're doing. The entity is hostile to being documented for me taking their pictures, which is on public property where they're engaged in what is criminal monitoring, and they are stalking. They're stalking. And the entity is engaged in what is manufacturing charges under all circumstances. But I just want to be clear, you will under no circumstances engage in what is exercising fictitious authority under the law when you're a whole stalker. And the entire Ontario Police Department is stalking. The entire police department, they are utilizing resources for criminal stalking as an entity. All right, in doing so with this threatening level as I'm documenting, because of the fact that I'm documenting, because of the fact I keep reminding them that they're going to federal prison, because of the fact that I keep reiterating the fact that they're going to be disbanded. So what do psychopaths and sex offenders and stalkers do? They engage in more of that. Hence, driving all around in slow motion in the parking lot. That's not a coincidence in this specific environment. It's also no coincidence when I have hundreds of videos of the Ontario Police Department following me around from place to place in helicopters. I go to one place, the entity is present with a helicopter. I go somewhere else, this entity is still present with a helicopter. And it's replete with what is a supernatural environment so that there's no mistaking about who is in fact being targeted under a fake sun. They're demons. And that's what the Ontario Police Department is providing against itself and what is going to be a prosecution for being puppets, for selling the practice of law enforcement. All right, acting and targeting an American citizen. And police department's targeting is that which is done in furtherance of murder. They're stalking me, conspiring to murder me, because that's why you're gang stalking as a police department, bearing weapons and seeking to exercise authority you don't have under the law. That's a conspiracy to murder. That's reasonably foreseeable to occur when you are stalking as corrupt police officers. You're stalking, and then you are controlling a narrative about what happens to that targeted individual that you were gang stalking the whole time. They're going to federal prison for that. Gang stalking police officers are going to federal prison. Kidnapping police officers engaged in federal group stalking, monitoring, gang stalking, you're going to federal prison. All right, and they're stalking while they know that they're being documented as well. That's an unlawful threat by the entire department and those kidnappers in particular. And the people of the state, the demons that are sitting around flinging light, and they're mad because I'm telling you, the world, that they're obsessively monitoring my vagina. They're monitoring my genitalia between my legs, stalking me in places like bathrooms and stalking me everywhere that I'm going, like I'm documenting now. Those sex offenders, those psychopaths they are disqualified from even being in law enforcement because of their mental illness. It is currently 11:29 p.m. This is the P.O.C, the entity engaging what is following me to where I'm at the Tabor Professional Building, which you already know. Multiple shadows surround. That's the environment everywhere because criminal monitoring is going on in California. And the Ontario Police Department is engaged in a pattern of kidnapping. And those kidnapping sex offenders who are stalking me obsessively and obsessed with my vagina are engaged in what is harassing by stalking and right in front of my face right now with multiple vehicles driving all around me, pacing with the demons who are the people of the state, stalking with light, gang stalking in plain view, in other words, with impunity and malice, while I'm at the same time documenting. That's the entity that's engaging what is flying over my head repeatedly by helicopter, which I document as well, very diligently. And it's going to be the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. And they're not just going to be fired, they're done with law enforcement. You're prosecuted for domestic terrorism as a police department, it's going to be the basis for permanently being removed from law enforcement. You're not going to another sheriff's department in another state. You're not going to the county up north and join that small little police department. No, you're done with law enforcement. You're out permanently. There is nowhere in the United States jurisdiction where you will ever be a part of any law enforcement. And that's policy with regard to domestic terrorism, which is a real concern amongst in the United States because police departments are engaged in criminal monitoring. They're targeting American citizens. Gang stalking police, you're done with law enforcement. It is currently, by the way, 11:30 p.m. This is P.O.C. while I'm at the Tabor Professional Building. The entity is gang stalking, and I captured that on video. I am going to include it in the podcast. This is relevant to the video evidence that I've been maintaining post the May 29th to June 3rd, 2025 kidnapping, the Ontario Police Department's ongoing stalking, ongoing criminal monitoring, ongoing psychological torture while they are following me around with the intent to obstruct justice, and they're still gang stalking, which is exactly what they were doing on May 29th pursuant to criminal summoning. Gang stalking is the malicious act of a gang stalking police department where the entity that is targeting summons, and that's in air quotes because the entity that I'm documenting at Woodside Senior Apartments is stalking on an ongoing ceaseless basis by helicopter while the fake sun remains over that apartment complex. All indicators regarding targeting. That police department is already a gang stalker, a heavily documented one, and then they commit kidnapping. And post that kidnapping, I have been maintaining a very detailed list of what is ongoing evidence that's going to serve for what is supporting federal prison and disbanding of the Ontario Police. That is, again, the entity is engaging in this, which I've been maintaining evidence for years against the state, but also the Ontario Police Department. I have thousands of videos, and the Ontario Police Department maintains a large ratio of that evidence, speaking to start targeting by that police department and targeting by the state. All right. So post this kidnapping on May 29, 2025, the Ontario Police Department is maintaining ongoing gang stalking, which is exactly what these 4 officers who are subject to federal prison for it are engaging in. Literally, while the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking tonight, this is evidence about what C. Torres, L. Martinez, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook are engaged in. The pattern of conduct. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct, and the Ontario Police Department is engaged in the pattern of conduct. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. They're engaged in it while I'm documenting it, and there is no toleration for that level of criminal threatening that the Ontario Police Department just committed and has been committing. By the way, they've been committing that. They're going to prison. They're going to prison, and they're done with law enforcement. The entire department, the Ontario Police Department, has demonstrated it is not needed. It's not needed in the city. It's not needed in the state. And they are a threat to national security. It is currently 11:32 p.m. This is ongoing evidence with regard to the prosecution of the state of California. And the Ontario Police Department is obsessively following me around from place to place, which I've already proven. And I've proven it beyond a reasonable doubt. This is P.O.C. Don't forget, the entity is stalking with plane activity, as it's so enthusiastically demonstrated in the podcast that I documented at 9:35, 9:37, 9 p.m. upon my exit, and at the Tabor Professional Building out G Street and Fern Avenue, where I've also documented the entity clearly targeting because there's no terminal. It's even farther away from the airport, and there's no planes that are taking off or low in elevation when you're taking off at a sharp incline from the airport, which is that's exactly what planes do. The entity is hovering over my location, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department when they are crossing paths, like I've already documented the Ontario International Airport doing. And this is why you document the entity, because you're able to look at the whole big picture, what's been going on the whole time, when the entity is only focused on one aspect, only focused on one detail, focused on whatever sore point that they don't like in one day. But I've been documenting the whole thing the entire time. All right, so the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the Ontario International Airport is clearly targeting as well when they're engaging what is amplified plane activity over G Street and Fern, where I'm located, where the fake moon is here right now at nightfall, where I'm documenting the fake sun rising and setting over Woodside Senior Apartments when I remain inside of Unit 51, where the Ontario Police Department is as well, pacing all around me on Euclid Avenue with these demons who are the people of the state. Okay, just want to remind you about that. This is P.O.C. All right, final note, the people of the state that I'm documenting by license plate, they're communicating unlawful threat. They are gang stalking, sharing in the elements in real time with the police. And as you are aware, the policy with regard to prosecuting domestic terrorism and psychological torture by a corrupt government that's engaging in what is public corruption by gang stalking, federal group stalking and monitoring, the policy that is commensurate to the unlawful threat posed by a population gang stalking with the police in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping you, it's federal prison. So I want to be clear, the people of the state that are gang stalking, while I'm reading their license plates and that video that I have of the Ontario police ominously stalking in the path while the people of the state are molesting with impossible light, my shadow's traveling across the wall in front of me while a demon is driving south on G Street right now. East on G Street right now. They're gang stalking. They're stalking with light. And they're doing so as a population that is ceaselessly, no matter how much I document, no matter how damning the evidence, no matter how hard proof it is, such as 48 minutes of flying in a circle over me by helicopter, for example, they will still keep stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. They have an objective. Okay, that's an unlawful threat. While the Ontario police are engaging in the elements of monitoring right in my face, so are the people of the state whose license plates I read in that parking lot. All right, and the entity is engaging in what is an unlawful threat, and that is requiring, again, federal prison. The policy is federal prison because the entity is acting to murder people. The entity is acting to kidnap people, take their liberty, to steal from them and kill them. That's not exaggerated. That's not hyperbole. That's why you engage in stalking somebody as a population. That population lies about what happens to that person. That population lies about the reputation of that person. That person lies about what that person did to someone else or what that person did to the police, where they witnessed the police kill that person. They're all bearing false. This is the harms in that. And to protect that American citizen, you're talking about federal prison is necessary. And that's the unlawful threat that the people of the state whose license plate I read, they're gang stalking. And those demons feel empowered. They shouldn't. They're delusional. But the entity is being defiant. That's that satanic spirit. That's that mental illness, that psychopathic obsession, that ongoing deluded ego, that ongoing mindset, that sick mindset that's accustomed to getting away with what is wrong, what's illegal, what's corrupt, what's improper. Which again, a law enforcement officer knows that. So you are hostile because you're not able to get away with what you're typically accustomed to getting away with. That's a psychopath. And that is what is chasing me around. And let me be clear, because he's not driving 50 miles per hour, speeding behind me, they are chasing me down. They are stalking me in the specific environment. The way in which the entity is stalking as an entity is not derailing from understanding what is under all circumstances stalking. You're doing it in the middle of the night. You're doing it while I'm documenting you stalking. You're doing it in plain view as though I'm not documenting you. And you're doing it as though it's going to be mistaken and though you're going to appear as though, because this is what the entity is, the whole illusion of gang stalking is that it's the imagination of the target individual, that the way that the circumstances appear because it's strangers, because the police aren't talking to you, that they're not focused on you and that you are engaged. That's psychological torture. The entity is engaging what is targeting you and is doing so in a manner where they feel empowered to do it because they're not quote unquote targeting you directly. They didn't say anything to you, so why can't they be there? They can be there. They can do what they want because they're the police at that. And so can everybody else around the police who's going to permit them to do what they're doing while they're gang stalking you, monitoring you, psychologically torturing you, harassing you as an entity. You go to federal prison for that. You go to federal prison for that. That's exactly what the Ontario Police just did right now. And they did it after engaging in kidnapping again. Multiple kidnappings by this department. They're being disbanded, and C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, and what is Nathan Morgan, they're going to prison. While their gang stalking, demon-possessed partners cannot control themselves, can't stop following me around, and that whole department is obsessed with my vagina, they're going to federal prison. It is currently 11:39 p.m. where the people of the state are engaging in the criminal bidding of the Ontario Police Department. The people of the state are engaging in criminal conduct that's going to be used against the Ontario Police Department. The people of the state are the proof that the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking. It is currently 11:40 p.m. I just wanted to remind you about that. Those third parties I documented, that's not going to be missed when the entity is prosecuted. You go to federal prison for that. The entity is engaging in that which is not going to be tolerated. The police enabling the people enabling the police. You're breaking that whole system down. Okay? P.O.C.